to the Brown Chant. In this video, I have a special guest and we're going to go through and rank a ton of airdrops. Now, I know I said in the YouTube title that we're ranking every airdrop, but I'm just going to preface this because some smartass out there is going to be like, why didn't you mention this one? So we're going to go through a ton of them, probably the ones you've heard of the most. And then at the end of it, we're going to spend some time discussing each single one, and we're going to each rate these airdrops. So hopefully by the end of this video, you have a better understanding of sort of the logic behind some of the things we're prioritizing. And I think it'll be really cool. I haven't really seen this being done. So with that all being said, remember, I'm not a financial advisor. Neither is my guest. So we're just people on YouTube. Please do your own research, because I think that's the most important thing after everything. And also, as just a quick reminder, we do have a private group. If you're interested in joining, I would recommend the Patreon option just because it's much cheaper. So you've probably seen this rating chart before. You can use it for literally anything. I was watching a ranking video on the best chest exercises, and it sort of inspired me to sort of say, hey, we could actually do one on airdrops. So I wanted to make sure doing this, it wasn't just going to be me doing it solo. So I have a special guest, like I mentioned. Before I bring them on, I just want to explain what the concept will look like. So basically, we have a list of different protocols. We're going to talk about each one separately. We have a maximum of 3 minutes total that we're allowed to talk about it. At the end of it, we will each give our rating. The final rating will be the average of our rating, and if it's sort of in between, it'll be rounded down. So the reason this is very important is, for example, for something to end up in the S category, we both have to rate it an S. So it sort of adds another dimension to it. So I think it'll be very interesting. Obviously, please do engage. I think this is one of the videos where I will be responding to the chat, and so will the guest. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce our guest. Our guest is somebody who I actually got the pleasure of meeting when I played DeFi Kingdoms during the bear market. Really smart guy, works as a developer, recently joined the DeFi Kingdoms team. I don't even know why I'm being so cryptic on who the guest is. It's literally in the title. I just remembered I put it there. But really good guy, does a lot of traveling to conferences. And honestly, he wanted me to remind you, if you watched our videos in December, you'd be up a ton of money right now. How's it going, Kristian?
Awesome. So good to be here, Brown Jen. I can't believe it's been so long since we've gotten together to rank airdrops. I mean, you and I have gone through a lot of crypto projects in our time, and this one's going to be fun, guys. Not only are we going to tell you what the airdrops are, but what we think they're going to actually provide you in terms of token value. I'm excited about this one, Brown Jen. You ready to get started?
I definitely am. So you know what? Maybe we'll kick it off, and I'll let you jump in, and if you sort of want to pass to me, just let me know. The moment I say the name, I'm going to start the timer, and when the timer is done, we're going to keep doing that again and again. We see the rating, okay? So the first one is actually Aptos. So what are your thoughts on Aptos? We'll just sort of drag it here for now. Do you have any opinions on this whatsoever?
Aptos. Yeah, I love Aptos. It's a huge protocol. It's going to command a ton of value. I think it's going to be in the billions of dollars. Not too many people are talking about it that much anymore. I think the big ones that are still getting the mind share are going to be, ZKsync and EigenLayer, but Aptos itself is going to be one of those huge airdrops. I think, billions of dollars in tokens are going to be sent out. I can imagine that being, a 4 to 5 figure airdrop. What are your thoughts?
I completely agree with you. I actually just did a video on this a few days ago, so it kind of sparked my memory on this. Basically, I think it was 51% of the allocation was for the airdrop, something ridiculous like that. 3% was given out. There's 48% to go. And wow. If you look at their criteria, they're they don't mind cycles. They literally said you can have up to 20 accounts. They drew the line at 21. What do you think about the value and where that goes from here?
I think it's going to be, it's just going to draw more and more people in as these airdrops continue to progress over 2024. As we mentioned before, guys, 2024 is the year of the airdrop. BrownJet and I got on podcast back in December, all about the Cosmos ecosystem. We'll talk about that a lot in here as well. I think Aptos is definitely an A-range project. What about you?
Yeah, so we got a minute 30, so we won't say any. I won't say my rating yet, but basically, I do have it rated very highly. I think, one, I look at potential, right? So just the fact that the juiciest part of the airdrop hasn't happened yet. I also look at like friction. So like, it's so much harder, or there's so much more competition for airdrops on like EVM and Solana and IBC. But now you got to open up a Pontum or a Petra wallet, get on Aptos, and it's a little different. And I also really like that you can, for the most part, have a good barometer of what they're going to look at. So like they have the 4 quests for Aptos on Galaxy. I got 3 of the 4 OATs. So that's what they looked at last time too. And they gave a ton of money. Last time, if you just signed up for their testnet, you got like $2,000. Insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing. So, yeah. These 4 and 5 figure airdrops are going to be nice, guys, over the remainder of the year. Aptos, I think, like you mentioned, it does have some friction involved with it. It's not an EVM. You can't just go into MetaMask and farm it. You can't just Sybil attack. You've got to go in there and set up an account, do the task, and you're going to only have one airdrop that comes to you. That's another reason why I think it's probably going to be a larger airdrop, whereas some of these other ones can be smaller, but you might be able to go in with multiple wallets or other ways in order to be able to farm them. But with Aptos, I'm thinking, yeah, it could be in the $5,000 range, especially if they're going to release, like you said, 48% more of their allocated tokens for airdrop. That's a huge deal, right?
Yeah. All right. So the timer just went off. So Kristian, what's your rank for this?
I'm definitely giving Aptos an A.
All right, cool. So I would have given it an S. So by the sort of average rule, we end up as an A. So next one, maybe I will kick it off. So this is Blast. So Blast is another Ethereum another Ethereum layer 2. It seems like so many are popping up. I watched a video by one of the co-founders. I thought the concept's very nice, which is he wanted to make Blast like a sort of liquid, like basically you hold your Ethereum on here and it gives you the APY already on your Ethereum just for holding it on chain. And that's really like the value proposition. What do you think of that?
I love it. I think that, the founder of Blast, one of the founders, Pac-Man, great guy on the Bankless podcast today. He's also one of the co-founders of Blur. So, he's got a lot of marketing expertise. I mean, Blur came out of nowhere, squashed OpenSea. Basically, Blast is coming out of nowhere, and it's starting to take on the likes of Arbitrum and Optimism when it comes to total value lock. So I think Blast has got the momentum. They've got a great marketer as a founder. I mean, the sky's the limit for these guys.
Yeah, and they just blew up a ton of liquidity with like the yield, right? With Crypto Valleys, which was, I don't know if you ended up getting into it. I know like I sent you and like Sargent and others like that link, but I know it was like very last minute. And I remember like, I feel like an idiot for like selling it so early. Like I can't believe I was so happy. Like it looked like pennies. Thousands of dollars looks like pennies because at the amount that I bought, I'd have over $500,000. Like literally, I lose my key, I get into a coma. I'm good to go. But no, I do think Blast is really cool. Have you been participating in their like airdrop campaign?
I did bridge over some ETH. I didn't participate in Crypto Valleys. I know a lot of people out there did. And BrownJet brings up a really good point, guys, is that you might think that, a 5x or a 10x is good when it comes to these airdrops, but always keep that moon bag. So what I mean by that is if you're going to sell half, sell 80%, but don't sell the entire amount because you don't know which one of these projects, and I don't know which one of these projects is going to be that one that 1000x's. And trust me, one will during this cycle, if not more. So you want to make sure that you keep that in mind. Go into these things thinking, okay, I'd love to come out of this with a 10x or, a 50x or whatever, but keep a little bit of the tokens just in case they do that moonshot. You don't want to get stuck with that, that regret that you just, you could have gotten that huge 1000x, if only you'd put in $1,000, you'd wind up with $1 million, right? That's part of this airdrops as well, BrownJet.
Yeah, so there's probably 2 things to that. Number one, it's funny you say that. In a private group, we're actually putting together a multi-sig wallet. So for example, I can't sell out of my last piece. We're going to put like a portion of our moon bags all together, and it's like a governance vote. Everyone's got to be, you got to turn your key or we don't do it. So like, this is how we prevent people from like, especially me, who will say I have a moon bag, but oh my God, it doubled again, I'm out. And then the last thing I would say on Blast, because the timer just ended, is the only knock on it for me is the fact that they made it very hard to bridge out. RhinoFi has blocked withdrawals. Owl to Finance caps it at 0.1 Ethereum. And if you are bridging through Orbiter, it charges you like between 2 to 3%. It's like not even a flat rate. So that's pretty expensive. I was trying to bridge out like, 2 Ethereum, and it was going to cost me like a couple $100. Like that's pretty ridiculous. Don't know why that's the case. Hopefully they get that fixed. That's probably the only knock on it. Since you rated first last time, maybe I'll give my rating here. Because of all of that, I probably have Blast at a B. What are your thoughts?
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. If it was just for marketing alone, I would give them an S definitely, but I'm going to go with a B as well, just because I think that their tech and everything associated with the chain is probably a C. I think a B is a really fair rating though.
Perfect. Okay. So the next one, and Kristian sort of mentioned, and you're probably wondering like, why are we going ABC? Well, when we copy the images in, probably because it's alphabetical order. So Cosmos is next. So really the Atom token. What are your thoughts here, Kristian? Maybe we can talk more about it from a perspective of the Atom staking as well as sort of like airdrops associated with that.
Yeah, definitely, Brown Jet. Well, Cosmos is an ecosystem, as you know, guys. The IBC protocol and everything around it is fantastic. Unfortunately, Atom doesn't hold that much value. It's just not a value accrual token. But what it does is it gives you access to airdrops, like you all know. So if you held Atom during the last cycle, you got Celestia, you got Injective, you got a lot of tokens that had a lot of value to them. So tens of thousands of dollars just by staking Atom. I think staking Atom is still a good deal, but I wouldn't do as much as there'll be other protocols that come up. I think that'll be a lot better. With that being said, though, Atom is still a fair play to go out there, stake 100, and make sure that you've got that staking done. Make sure that you vote on these protocols, and the Cosmos ecosystem is always producing a lot of airdrop winners.
I agree with you. In fact, a couple of days ago, I made a video regarding specifically Atom, and just like, so Atom was a token that I got into last cycle. I was up on it, but I for example, like, it was kind of averaged down. I DC8. I held Atom at $40. I watched it come back down. I didn't have that much Atom at the time, but I was buying it all the way down to like $6 or whatever. So, there was a point in time when it went to like 18 or 20, even before we came here. But it's probably been the least or the worst performing token in my wallet. Obviously, not looking at airdrops, just like from a price perspective. Because it reminded me of like Cardano and XRP. Those are the other two that like I dumped, and I'm so happy I did. My probably like where I challenge people is because of all the opportunity, and like when I look at the Cosmos ecosystem, there's like a really like cool map that like all the influencers show, and basically it's like whatever technology comes from a certain chain and when it gets adopted, it's sort of how they airdrop it. So this is how like Atom got you Juno, and Juno got you so many airdrops in the previous cycle. But I remember like that I didn't understand that the previous cycle, so I held on to Atom and not holding on to these other tokens, which were really the ones that were driving the majority of the value, right? Like Atom opens the door by getting you that token, but those other tokens, the derivatives, are the one that really like gets you the stuff. So like in this case, it was Celestia. Celestia was being like probably the best one, and then it branched off to Dimension. Dimension's having like 8 airdrops. The IM token or whatever, or NIM token just got announced, and you can claim it as of like 2 days ago. I think that is probably where I shift Atom a little bit down on the priority list. Like I think in December we were both like, hey, this is great. Here I'm kind of on the fence. What are your thoughts, and like how do you rank Atom compared to all the other tokens that you stake?
Yeah, I would give Atom definitely a middle of the road. I think that there are better IBC protocols out there that are on Cosmos, but I do think that Atom still is going to hold its value extremely well. It's also going to probably offer you some more airdrops, because usually if people are airdropping to the other IBC providers, Atom stakers do have a tendency to get those airdrops as well. So I would rank it right here, middle of the road. I'd give it a C.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you there as well. Atom did get you some dimension, although like the majority of dimension was driven by Celestia. But at the same time, like if we're going to a bear market, I would rather hold Atom than any of these other tokens, like just because of the tokenomics reasons, right? And I think it like if tomorrow you told me the market's going to crash, I'm swapping all of it into Atom if I had no other choice. If I didn't want to hold USDC, but I agree with you. I put it at a C as well. All right, the next one is data ownership protocol. What are your thoughts on this? This is like a test net.
Definitely. It is testnet, guys, so it's really inexpensive. You just go out there, you do the tasks associated with it. You might get a decent size airdrop. Usually with these testnets, though, what I found in the past is that they do take up some time. You know, they can take an hour, 2 hours, sometimes of your time just to go out there and complete all the tests and do everything. And the airdrops associated with testnets usually aren't that great. But BrownJet did say, you know, Aptos testnet was an exception. You know, that one was a $2,000 airdrop. We don't know what this one's going to be, but I just have a feeling that it's going to be, you know, could be a couple $100, but it's probably not going to be a 4 or 5 figure airdrop. BrownJet, what are your thoughts?
I think the chat's got it spot on here. F, G, whatever. I think the problem with data ownership protocol was of everything I farmed this cycle, from what I remember, this has literally been like the longest running one. They did so many extra things for 1% airdrop allocation, right? That's what they're giving. And then they have almost weaseled their way doing these kind of underhanded pre-sales. So I had multiple people reach out to me asking if I wanted to be involved in pre-sales. Even before then, they didn't sell enough tokens in pre-sale that they eventually went to all the airdrop community, put out a vote. They weren't happy with the results of the vote, so they redid the vote to force people to basically do the pre-sale of, I think, 1.5 billion tokens or something, which I am not going to do. I think this thing is completely worthless. So I think, you know, putting it at F is like perfect, but I'm curious to hear what you think.
I think you've done more research into this one than I have. Again, I don't do many testnet projects out there. I don't have a tendency to rank them very high just because I don't get involved with them. So you could give it the poop emoji if you want, or leave it in that F tier.
Yeah, I wish I put the poop emoji in here, but yeah, F tier it is. All right, how about Injective?
Awesome. Love this one. Much better than the Atom that I'm considering as far as airdrops go. Obviously, Injective bills itself as the DEX layer on top of Cosmos. We haven't really seen a whole lot launch on there. There have been a couple of ones that have hinted at it. There's been, you know, just a couple of little things that have come up like Hydro and I think Black Magic. There are some that I'm sure are going to still airdrop to Injective stakers. The problem is that we haven't seen anything major yet. So I think that that's kind of depreciated the value of Injective, but I still think it's going to be a big player, one of those big time players on top of Cosmos. I just don't know how many airdrops we're going to see in this cycle. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so you know, I did enjoy the Hydro Finance airdrop. I enjoyed like the Helix app airdrop as well. Like, they had a sort of mini airdrop if you staked Injective. You got some Pyth token. I got like $300 worth of Pyth, which was nice. I think the challenge I have is, because I think all this comes down to opportunity cost, right? So if we had infinite liquidity, yes, we can park our money into everything, right? Like, great, we have everything covered. Because this is what I used to do with Cardano. I used to like leave thousands of dollars in Cardano, and then somebody asked me the right question. Like, you know, there's a cost to holding your money there, because like when everything's moving, you're literally just parking this and doing nothing with it. So for me, I do think there's potential with Injective. I think where I don't understand is they're really fast. I'm not sure what their value proposition is that is like so great that other protocols will adopt it, right? And that's, you know, when I consider some of the other things I stake, I go, great, this technology is so fantastic that these protocols will adopt it. That was my theory around Dimension, right? Before we had any airdrops announced, it's because I'm like, okay, cool, roll apps, big time, right? Celestia, modular, we're gonna get this done. What about Injective causes that? Or is it just going to be Injective based airdrops like Dojo, Swap, things like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that Injective, you know, billing itself as the DeFi layer on top of Cosmos is it's a good narrative. But unfortunately, they've kind of lost out on that narrative now, because we do have Celestia, which is data availability, much better narrative. And then you've got Dimension, which is going to be the roll apps, which is, you know, even a better narrative right now. So right with those two, I would put Injective below that tier. I kind of want to give them, well, I'll let you go first on them because it's your turn.
Oh, is it? Okay. I was going to put them at C. I don't know where you stand.
I think they're a B minus C plus in my book. I kind of rank them a little bit above Cosmos, but I don't think they really deserve a B.
Okay, cool. So we'll round it down. All right. The next one is Jupiter. So maybe I'll get us started off here. And for a reminder for everyone watching, Jupiter is probably the best DEX in the Solana ecosystem. They had a massive airdrop I think it was like end of January. What people don't realize is they have 4 airdrops, and they're happening once, I think, every year in January. Tons of tokens. They're doing this whole like governance thing where now you can lock up your airdrop, and it's so easy to do because if you just make that your primary DEX, if you do all your activity in there, you're just gonna earn it without even thinking about it, and that's sort of how I look at it. What are your thoughts?
Definitely. Jupiter is by far the best use of the DEX as far as Solana goes. And I think that Jupiter is going to continue to give out airdrops along the way. So if I was doing any kind of trading right now on Solana, I'd be using Jupiter, collecting those airdrops and using the best experience you could possible. So just with those alone, I'd rank it really high.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that doesn't even account for the fact they got the Jupiter like perpetuals, right? Which is like, JLP tokens. So that's fantastic. Every time I try to get into that, like if I try to get into the actual pool, it's impossible. I've got to buy the token on the market. And, I see someone in the comments, Jaden's asking this question. They were very clear in sort of their airdrop protocol, exactly what it's about. It's going to be about volume is like one primary driver. There could be some other bonuses and stuff, but I think, one of the things people should think about is everyone loves to like push all these like fake transactions. I see so many people go, oh my God, I'm going to bridge here, bridge back, bridge here, bridge back. Why don't you just use this when you were going to swap on, in Solana anyways, instead of using your Phantom app to do it inside the app, just go in here, use a limit order and just run through the process. I've done like, I believe at this point, almost like $300,000 to $400,000 of volume in the last 2 months, just because I've been doing a lot of training, and I've been doing it through this, and I've been consistent saying, hey, I'm not going to split my volume, and fingers crossed that this pays off next January. But yeah, so I think I ranked it last time. Where would you rank this, Kristian?
I would definitely give Jupiter an A. I feel like it's got that big airdrop potential, and it's a great user experience. So I would definitely give it an A rank.
Completely agree. Okay, so the next one is Chroma. So what are your thoughts on this?
I'm not as familiar with Chroma probably as you are, so I'll let you go ahead and start,
Sure.
and then I can add some. Yeah.
So Chroma is another Ethereum layer 2. It's probably best known for their very convoluted, I don't want to say testnet campaign because it wasn't testnet, but they basically had a 7 or 8 week campaign on Galaxy where you collected like different pieces to create this like quest NFT thing. So basically to summarize it costs you like $30 to $40 to make this NFT. You could sell it for $150. So I made a video saying, hey, just keep creating this and selling it. And of course, as with anything, when you tell people to sell something, what are you crazy? This thing's gonna be worth like $500. This guy, I'm like, I'm just take the profit and run it up. That thing is worth like $30 to $40 because their token generation event is in June, and as you know, people don't want to wait that long. People are like, okay, great, what's the next new thing going on? On top of that, they had a Chroma Guardian House mint that happened, I believe it was probably 3rd or 4th week of January. It feels like so long ago. This also is soulbound, so people could not sell their NFT, and you can't do anything once again until token generation. But I think they kind of messed up their launch. As you know, like when you launch something, there's tons of bots and everything. They didn't solve for it the way they did it. They didn't do any sort of whitelisting or anything, regardless of what happened. So they had this whole like scaling thing. It took like 3 weeks to sell out completely because it started off like at like $400 or $300, and then every time 10 people bought something, it kept going up in price, which I think is the dumbest thing ever, because if you're ever trying to do a transaction, your transaction will fail just because like 10 people bought it. It's just stupid, right? So I wasn't a fan of how that was done. But do you have any thoughts on any of this? It's an ETH L2, maybe from that perspective.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, you basically summed it all up right there. They had some decent momentum. They lost it. They're in ETH layer 2. They don't stand out in the crowd. There's no big buzzwords that you had there. There's no narratives. There's really nothing for them to really rely on, right? So when it comes down to it, they might have an airdrop that's worth a little bit of money, but guess what people are going to do? They're going to sell it off right away. So you can tell just by the way that you described everything, how your feelings are about it, even about the NFT. I mean, being soulbound, they're pissing people off. So when people are upset, they might go out there and do the task, but they're gonna sell this thing off. So unless you're the first one to sell, you're probably not going to get much from it.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a very good point there. A lot of people get like stuck in with these tokens. They like think, oh great, I got some new token or whatever. But what you've got to realize, and I saw a really good thread someone in our private group shared, which is the VCs will invest based on like sort of users on chain, and sort of that's what brings up the valuation, right? So that's why a lot of these protocols do these like crazy campaigns where they don't care if they're sideboats, because great, you're showing tons of new wallets. It's kind of like Twitter, right? How they artificially inflated the value of Twitter for Elon Musk before he bought it, right? Because of all the bots. Same thing here. And then what'll happen is the people will move on to the next, like the farmers will move on to the next one, the operation will go. So don't get stuck with these tokens. Whatever airdrop you get, I always recommend, especially if you're not fully bought into like the tech, and if it's just a farming operation, don't marry your bags, sell it, move on, use it to go to the next one. So I think I have to rank this one next. I'm going to rank this at a C, and the reason for C basically is I think there is some value because of the ETH L2. We haven't had any ETH L2 blow up yet. I'm sure we will. In fact, I think Chroma might be the first one to do it. They already had to roll back the chain by a few days. Something happened, but most people don't know about this. So well, it hasn't blown up yet, and I think once an ETH L2 blows up, people will start seeing this for like the sham it is, which is anyone can create an ETH L2. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you should move it down one. I mean, to me, it sounds like a D. We might as well fill in that D row with the first one. I mean,
well,
when you have to roll back, the whole idea of having a blockchain is making it immutable. If you have to start rolling it back, it sounds like a glorified database to me.
Yeah, I knew if I had told you this, it would automatically like make you feel a lot worse about this. But no, I that's cool. All right, you know what? Since I started the last one, maybe you start this one. Celestia.
Oh my God, one of my favorites. This narrative is just the narrative keeps on giving. So Celestia to me it's going to be one of the huge winners of this cycle. Could be one of the huge winners of all time, based on the fact that they were the first data availability layer to make themselves accessible, and now everybody is building on top of Celestia. Celestia 2 is going to be one of those narratives that offers airdrops galore, and all you need to do is stake your Celestia token. I know we're going to be talking about Stride in here. We're also going to be talking about MilkyWay. So Celestia is just it's one of those gifts that keeps on giving, guys. I mean, I can't talk highly enough about it. Brown Gent, what are some of your thoughts?
I mean, I think you captured it very well. My only hesitation around Celestia, and it always comes up, right? Like, I think all the pauses are fantastic. It's around sort of the tokenomics and sort of, get great, like 7x, right? From October to actually 10x from October to like late December. At this price point, it's like a 7x. Still a lot of stuff that can, be dumped on us, but I think the airdrops will more than make up for whatever price that you lose. I also think that if significant enough airdrops happen and they become a much more competitive, like we're seeing, right? We first saw one Celestia token got you like what, 200 something dimension. Then Correct. With Saga, it was 25. With AltLayer, it was 35, right? I saw something recently where they said 50 was the cutoff for Celestia as another airdrop. I forget which one it was. So as these go up, you'll need more Celestia staked. If you look at like Smart Stake, you see that at the moment, 11% of people have over 100 Celestia staked in a wallet. Like only 11% of wallets have at least 100 Celestia staked. I think there's going to be a sweet spot where like people will continue to sort of push up, and that's going to lock up more Celestia token, which means that the value will go up. So I think this is great. I think the technology. I mean, we know what's really cool about this: the fact that it goes beyond just IBC. That was really cool to me to see. Like when I saw Manta bring that in and sort of everything else, it's a great well, whatever I think about Manta, we'll talk about later. But I just think bringing this across the board was fantastic. Who rated first last time?
You rated first last time, and I just want to add one more thing before my rating comes in. You guys, one of my top top coins that's going to come out this year probably is called Eclipse. I don't know if we're going to hit on it later or not, but it basically has all the narratives. It's a Solana virtual machine. It's using Celestia as data availability. It's just the perfect blend of everything. And that's going to have an airdrop probably to Celestia stakers. Like Brown Jen is saying, we don't know exactly how much is going to be needed, but go out there and get yourself some Celestia. You can put it now liquidly in Stride, and so you can have TIA, and you're getting the Stride airdrop, which isn't a whole lot, but you're still getting that. You're still getting your 16 or 17% on Celestia. I think it's just it's a great narrative. People are going to continue to buy it and stake it. I don't see anything but the token going up, at least for the bull run. So I give it an S.
Yeah, no, I think this is the first like slam dunk S. For, I mean, if Aptos was in S, I would have put this as an S plus. I think I think everything you said is super important. Maybe one thing I do want to clarify here, and maybe I think a little differently about this. I am actually more hesitant on Stride with Celestia because of exactly what you mentioned. The airdrops are so lucrative, but the Stride team has not confirmed definitively 100% that you will get all airdrops captured. So that's where I'm like I'm kind of like, this is great, but like I need to make sure I get the airdrop versus like you know what I'm saying. So I would do it for extra. If that makes sense.
Exactly. I understand. We don't know about the Stride Celestia, guys. We don't know the ST TIA, but we do know that MilkyWay TIA, the Milk TIA, did qualify for the alt layer airdrop. So the Milk TIA looks like it's good as far as a liquid staking solution goes. But like Brown Jet was alluding to, you might want to just stake natively and put it into some protocols and put it into the validators. You do have a 21-day lockup, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, and you know what was weird about this? Like, I wish Stride had the same thing for Atom. You know how they have for Atom, where you can literally pull from your validator? That's incredible. Why don't we have that on the other tokens? Because like I took a 2.33% hit to get rid of my Atom that was staked on one of the wallets that I had, and just literally put it into liquid right away. And like ever since I showed that on the YouTube video, I've gotten so many DMs. How do I do this for Celestia? How do I do this for Injective? I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen anything like that.
And as Neil says in the chat as well, we don't know if the ST TIA, the Stride TIA, is going to qualify for airdrops or not. The Stride team has said that they're going to try to make that happen. So I'm 99% sure that ST TIA is going to qualify you for airdrops. But until we get that definitive word, use some caution. Make sure that you're locking some up at least in the native validator so that you do qualify for the airdrops.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's so important to reiterate here. Just because even MilkyWay, they can't 100% confirm, make sure that you've got the minimum required within the validator, and then any extra that you want to hold in your account that you're like, hey, like I believe in the token, I want all this stuff. Maybe you get a bonus multiplier here by holding it in like STTIA or in MilkTIA. But definitively, if you want to guarantee the airdrop, validator is the way to go. No centralized exchange, and depending, you can look at like outside top 10 if possible, right? I don't think that's come up this season. All right, so I'll go to the next one. The next one is Linea. So I never know if I'm saying it the right way, but Linea is another ETH L2. I think much more highly about this than the other ones we've discussed, just from the opportunity standpoint. Probably like the biggest thing that matters to me, especially now that I have like that private group, is what I'm always looking for is opportunities that don't require you to be rich already, right? So some of these things, you need a ton of money to make money. Linea found a really good way in their LXP program, which is going to drive the majority of their airdrop. They combine that with a sort of proof of humanity requirement. And by doing both together, they make it so that whales are not able to take advantage of it, right? Because it doesn't matter if you've got $100 million, right? Like if you think about Justin Sun, yeah, he put like what 120,000 ETH into Aetherfi to get like a massive windfall. You can't do that with Linea. You'd have to go in and literally do the on-chain activities. And by the way, I did it one time. They're annoying, so I can't imagine somebody going and trying to game it so many times. But what are your thoughts?
Right. Definitely. Linea is it's probably one of the best, at least narrative wise, L2s. They're made by the team there at Consensus, the MetaMask proprietors. So you've got a lot of really smart people that are creating this L2. It's based on ZK technology. It's got like all the buzzwords that it hits. It's very difficult to farm, and the tasks that they make you do are great. They make you understand what the chain's all about, and if you like it, go out there and do it, and hopefully you'll get a 5-figure airdrop. And if you don't, but it does hit all those right criteria for the airdrop. I can see it being in the it could be in the low 4 figures, it could be in the high 5 figures. It's just one of those airdrops I think is going to be really good for everybody that goes out there and does the tasks.
And it really does reward that effort. I think there are some extra ways to gain LXP. Like there was kind of boost with the Linea voyage that happened, I think, on Intrack back in December. It was like a couple, like, what was like 8-week program once again, but like they made it so people who joined even now can still get it, and they're trying to make it so that it's an airdrop that's accessible to all. And I think by doing it, people have sort of done their own on-chain activity. So who knows if they will require other things, but I think definitively this will give you something that will be worth your while. So who ranked? Oh yeah, you ranked Celestia. Oh, no, yeah, you ranked Celestia last time. So what I will say for Linea is I rank it as an A, but I would love to hear what you think.
I think so too. I think that Linea is going to be good. Like I said, I could probably see it being anywhere from a $1,000 airdrop for most people that are out there that are farming it, that are out there doing the tasks in Linea Park, that are doing the what's required of you. Probably spending a good amount of time, just like you said, Brown Jen. You could spend probably 20, 30 hours doing a lot of these tasks, but it should be worth your while at the end of the day. And you can only use one wallet, so I do think it's going to be a nice airdrop for you. And hopefully it comes in that 5-figure range. It really excites people and gets them in there. And Consensus, they've got a history of making people happy, and they've got a ton of money on their side. So it could be a really large airdrop.
Yeah, and just to clear it up for everyone, just because we start with the image on the bottom doesn't mean it's an F tier. Just so you know, so no, Linea is not F tier for the person who's asking about it. All right, cool. So you know what? Because of that, maybe I won't sort of copy it in here. So maybe if you want to start off the next one, which is Mode, what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. Mode is another L2. It's a nice real world asset blockchain that allows you to bridge tokens over there and gives you instant return. So if you've got some USDC lying around and you want to get a 5% return on it, you can bridge it over, or some ETH, they stake it for you. They actually stake it in another protocol that I use called Pyrex. So the Dinero protocol, which is basically Pyrex ETH, it's a staked liquid stake derivative ETH product, gets you about 8% on your Ethereum. It's really, really cool. So I like it because of that. I don't know a whole heck of a lot more about it than that, but I do know that they're going to have a pretty sizable airdrop. They do have, that campaign going on right now. So it could be another one of those 4-figure airdrops that just by bridging over there and using some of the protocols, you're going to qualify yourself for a pretty decent sized airdrop. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? Like, I think everything you said is very good. I think they really integrated it. So, like, I think when they first launched it, it was a pain because bridging in and out was somewhat expensive. And now you can do it through Orbiter, pay very little. You can do it through Rhino Fi, do sort of very little. The one flag I have around it is I don't know if they restrict the US when you first try to access it, but I have to have my VPN on to like United Arab Emirates, which is, for those of you who have a VPN, I always select the countries that literally are so crypto friendly that nothing will ever ban them, right? But what that tells me is they may require you to do a KYC to verify where you're from, because we saw that happen with Zeta Chain. So a lot of like protocols, they don't ask you to do the stuff while you're farming, but after the fact, they're like, oh, by the way, surprise, like, when I went for Polyhedra, it was like, hey, I'm blocked all of a sudden. Like, what happened? So I turned the VPN on. I logged in from Dubai and boom, I'm good to go. But my fear is, and probably I don't know if it's an irrational fear, but I'm just like, hey, like, great, I got to park my liquidity here. However, I just got to remember that this is a potential thing to watch out for. That's all. So where would you rank this then, given all that?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I just wanted to add real quickly when it comes
Mhm.
to VPN, guys, most of these are going to make you VPN in from a different country when you go to claim airdrops. So do make sure that you know that. I know a lot of people that are in the US that don't actually qualify for these, but unless you get an IP that's in a different place, I recommend Hong Kong myself. They seem to be the easiest one to get, get your airdrops approved in. But yeah, Brown Gent's 100% right. You've got to go on there and go around the system because they do geofence a lot of these, and you don't want to miss out on your airdrops because you're in the wrong country. I give Mode the exact same thing I was going to say. Jonathan Matthew there in the chat, I think it's on equal footing as Blast. I would put it in the B tier just because it seems to me like those Ethereum L2s with real world assets fall into that tier for me. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Like for me, I would have edged it out on Blast a tiny bit just because I think Blast has gotten a little more adoption. Just so I think Blast will be one place where, I mean, it's actually good and bad, right? Because you're competing you have more people, more competition on Blast, but at the same time, Mode, like I said, like there's just a thing in the back of my head because I've never went to a protocol where like I couldn't access it without using VPN, right? Whereas everyone else, it was just at claim time. Here it's like warning me already. Wait a second, we're gonna make this happen. So how strict they are in it, no idea. But I think I'm fine putting it here with B as well. I wish the image was better because it's hard to tell this is Mode. um, all right, so the next one's Hyperlane. And you know what? I'll start it off here. So permissionless interoperability has been a massive narrative in the space, right? Like, I think we'll talk about LayerZero in a bit, but Wormhole was massive. This is a very sought after airdrop. Polyhedra, the airdrop didn't do so well. I think they made some critical mistakes. One, making people have to claim it on ETH mainnet when the GUI was like 70, pretty bad. And then also giving very small allocation of tokens. I think like most people got 20. I would have got 20, except I had one of the legendary Pandra, whatever it was, the NFTs that I bought for like $80. The reality was I could have sold that thing for like $500. Instead, I held it, got the 120 tokens, which were worth like $3. So like kind of like net neutral, whatever. But for me, I think that these narratives are very strong. I think being able to remove borders and being able to mix your funds up, because in the past, I remember needing a solution like this and having to be like, hey, I need to send it back to a centralized exchange and then use the centralized exchange to send me the money on my wallet because I couldn't go from one to the other. I think this solution and the others really make it much easier. What are your thoughts, Kristian?
Yeah, definitely. Hyperlane was the one bridge that we used to go from Celestia over to Manta. And so we got our TIA tokens over to the Manta blockchain. So I have used Hyperlane. The actual usage, to tell you the truth, is not great. I don't think it's a really good user experience, but I do know the narrative when it comes to these permissionless bridges, especially. I know that there's much better options out there, but Hyperlane will probably have a airdrop just like some of these other bridges, Orbiter, which we'll talk on, LayerZero, obviously Wormhole that already had one. So yeah, it's going to be a nice airdrop because I don't think it's going to be used as much as the other ones. And I do think that it's going to have that usage. And a lot of these bridges are going to be winners. They make a ton of money. They have a lot of utility, and they just seem to have a great narrative right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. The one I like the most is the bridge, but ironically, I didn't include that in sort of the selection for tonight just because there's so much, and we're also a little further away from that one. There's Jumper, but I think Hyperlane will do very well on the narrative, and I agree with what you said about user experience. There's actually a recent issue. So for those who are watching who use Hyperlane, be extra vigilant of the wallet it recommends as your output wallet, because when you're connecting your wallets, it may connect your wrong wallet. So there's a couple people who didn't connect their OKX wallet, but it fed in that address and their funds went somewhere else and they had no idea why. And then when they went to the Discord, apparently this came up as a very consistent issue. So I think that's something to flag. Where do you see this going, Kristian, in terms of ranking?
I think it can be a nice airdrop. I don't think the user experience is that great. I would have to put it like in the probably B- C+ stage. What do you think?
That's fair. So I would have put that as an A just because of value. So that it ends up as a B for average. That's fair. Cool. All right. Excellent. So you know what? This is going to be great because Metis will be closer to your heart given some of the most recent news. Would love to hear what you think about this. Maybe you can even speak a bit about sort of the happenings as well, just because you're a little closer to it. Whatever you're willing to share, and then also what you think about the airdrop campaign.
Sure. Well, Metis, as you know, guys, was the keynote sponsor of ETH Denver. 25,000 people at the conference. They had huge presence there. They have the March drop campaign going on, which ends in a couple of days here, just a little under a week. We're going to start to see those Metis tokens flowing into wallets here shortly. I'm sure Brown Gent's already advised you guys. They do have a layer 3 campaign out there. You can go out there, complete those 7 tasks. They're really easy. They give you NFTs. They qualify you probably for the airdrop. There's also another protocol that I'm farming, Hercules, on top of Metis, just launched today. They're alpha pools. You could have actually been into the Nitro airdrop, which happened about 2 weeks ago. Hercules, if you put $500 in liquidity into their alpha pools, you qualify for their whitelist. Their TGE event's going to happen in about a week. So Metis has got a ton of great narratives around it, guys. They're using EigenDA, one of the very first chains to use EigenLayer data availability. Same thing as Celestia, more or less. They also, too, are one of the first adopters of Chainlink CCIP, which allows you to take money from any financial institution or any blockchain and move it back and forth instantly and seamlessly. Super cool narrative setting around them. So I think they've got a ton of momentum. Brown Gent, I think they're going to do really well, and they're going to have massive airdrops coming up.
They also partner with DeFi Kingdoms, right? They have some sort of thing going on with their Coliseum or something. I think there's an announcement there too. So I think it's fantastic. Honestly, I don't even have 1% the knowledge you do on Metis. Like, as you were talking, all I could think about was the NFT. Like, oh yeah, I like the helmet I got. But I thought their campaign was okay. Their testnet was absolute trash. I remember doing a live video around that, but they got their act together. And in fact, they put up a page earlier today. They had to hide it because they got so many comments being like, hey, how come it says I have 0 allocation? But basically, it was like a sort of dashboard to show people what they earned and everything else on I think it's like decentralized.metis.io or whatever. But I think I do think it's good. For me, I have it rated as a B, but I'm going to assume you have it rated higher given everything you said.
I think that, as far as airdrops go, so what they're doing is they have right now, if you guys remember back to the Avalanche Rush campaign back in 2021, where Avalanche allocated a bunch of tokens to their Rush campaign, then all of a sudden Avalanche 10x during the bull market. So what they had originally allocated was about $70 million. It turned into $700 million. So everybody went and built on Avalanche. Metis has got something similar going on right now where they have 4.5 million Metis tokens. And the Metis token right now is at $100. So it's allocated right now is 4.5 million. So you're talking $500 million, and the token might go up from here. So it might be $1 billion, $2 billion for developers to go out there. I think that's going to catapult them up a couple of notches. I don't think they're an S by any means, but I do see them as a solid A. So if you want to give them a B, that's fine with me.
All right, average B. So just to be clear, you said their current market cap is like 500 mil-ish. Does that mean is that like a total supply minted out, or this is before they dilute, obviously, right, with the upcoming airdrop and other mintings?
So Metis tokens, I'm not sure how much are released right now. They're circulating. The last time I checked was about 250 or 260 million, and their fully diluted was about 800 million.
Yeah, okay, cool. Based on this, it looks like they have half the tokens in play, right? Circulating 5.2. So yeah, no, very interesting. $1 billion market cap. Very interesting.
Yeah,
cool.
1 billion for a token that is probably going. Right now, they have, how much they have. They have a ton set aside for the community, so it's like 9% of that. So really, you've got $90 million or so that's going to go out to the community here on the airdrops. I think it's going to be a good airdrop for people. I also do think it's one of those that's flying under the radar, but it uses the first one to use EigenLayer DA, which we'll talk about EigenLayer, I think, here in a sec.
Perfect. And just to answer Space Vibes, and I get the feeling, I get the sentiment around that. If you're looking for that, look at the S tier. S tier will literally doesn't require any of that stuff, although you do need to know when to get it. Like, you need to make sure you know when to claim. All right, next one's gonna be a big one, LayerZero. So I'll kick us off this time. LayerZero, I think, ironically, you were the one who told me about this, Kristian, about a year or so ago when we talked about farming airdrops. When I first told you I was interested in doing it, I think it was last March or April, around that time frame. And ironically, I learned about LayerZero before hearing about Wormhole, Hyperlane, anything like that. And for me, this is an incredible solution. I use it a ton to actually take profit. I think I remember telling you whenever I would sell, items in DeFi kingdoms, and I would sort of put money on Avalanche chain or something. If I wanted to transfer it to, I don't know, another chain, I would use Sushi Swap, which had this sort of capability in there. So by the time I looked at like farming LayerZero, I already had a ton of like months accumulated, right? I think this is fantastic. I do think sometimes it's somewhat expensive, but I think it's sort of these when you do the cross chain swap, it's a swap that's a little more expensive because of the slippage or like the swap fee. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. LayerZero is one of my favorites by far. It's one of those narratives that's just incredible, right? It's permissionless bridging. It's also too unhackable. So it's just cross-chain messaging. It basically, you're burning one token on one chain and minting another one on another chain. There's never any way that anybody can get into there and mess around with it. Like you've heard of the bridge hacks on Ronin, which was like $600 million and other ones in the past. So LayerZero offers the technology to everybody. They want you to build using LayerZero, which is amazing, right? So you've got Stargate, which uses LayerZero. You've got tons of other bridges that are all out there. And guess what? LayerZero gets a portion of every single one of those transactions that goes through it. It's just the gift that keeps on giving. I can see this one being enormous. They've got a ton of VC backing, and this airdrop is going to be insane. We can talk, it's going to be on the same layer as like some of these huge ones, ZKsync, EigenLayer. I can just see it being enormous for people that have been using it for the last year and a half and have done, 25, 50, 100 transactions. It's going to be big. I mean, what do you think, Brown Gent?
I think you said it perfectly. I think like this is probably one of the airdrops I'm most looking forward to. Not just because I farmed it, but just because I know it's probably one of the most anticipated airdrops that are still to come, right? I think prior to Starknet was one of those too. ZKsync was one of them as well. In my opinion, Starknet kind of fumbled a little bit with some of their decision making. We'll talk about that after because I did put them in here because they do have a second airdrop coming. But I do think LayerZero for me would be an an S tier just because like of one the tons of potential. I think it really rewards those who have really dug in, use the technology. And once again, I love it when you have an airdrop where you get rewarded for just taking natural action, right? So if you integrated this into sort of how you normally operated, so if you were somebody who used a lot of DeFi and you're moving money around and everything, and this would be a part of it, right? If you use Aptos bridge to farm on Aptos, even boom, you got it. There's like you use liquid swap or you use Aptos bridge, you got it, right? So for me, it's an S tier. What about you?
Yeah, I'll just add one more thing. I mean, I'm a big DeFi Kingdoms fan, big DeFi Kingdoms player, and LayerZero technology is built into DeFi Kingdoms. So anytime that you swapped items back and forth from Clayton chain to DFK chain on Avalanche, anyway, you got a LayerZero transaction. And the nice thing about it on DFK chain was it's only about a nickel. A lot of times it was like 3 or 4 cents, but it was usually like 5 cents. So even if you were farming it and you were trying to like do those cheap transactions, $1 here, $1 there, DFK chain was the way to go. And when it comes down to that, I've got 10, 11 wallets that I used on DFK, and I swapped tons and tons of things. So hundreds of transactions. I love that about it. I give it an S for the simple fact that, again, it's going to be worth billions of dollars. There's about 4 million people that have used it, but I think that only a few of them are going to qualify for it. So when you've got $1 billion protocol out there and you've got the ability to have hundreds of transactions that are going through by certain individuals, I mean, this one could be one of those 5-figure airdrops that we look at, like Wormhole, or some of the big ones that you're like, wow, I wish I would have bridged more, right?
100%. And to that point, I hear a lot of people talk about DeFi kingdoms and this LayerZero bridge. Do we think that that's going to be counted? Because I don't think like a lot of the trackers pick up the DFK bridge, the DFK like LayerZero transactions, because I've never seen them counted. Do we have an idea of whether or not that will be relevant?
That's interesting that you say that, because I know that like NFT Copilot and other ones out there don't pick that up. But when you go to LayerZero scan and you check it out, it has everything out there. So my number one wallet in DeFi Kingdoms has about 650 transactions on LayerZero scan, and they're mostly just Clayton and DFK chain back and forth. So I know that that's what they're going to use. LayerZero scan. They're not going to use one of these other third-party things.
Yeah, no, that's interesting to say. And you know what's funny? Like, I don't know if you've seen their LayerZero scan recently, they've kind of like made it really weird. Like I tried to look at it, and now you can't even. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, but what I used to do is type in the your wallet address or TX, and it would show up everything. Now, like I do it, it can't find anything. It's become a message finder of sorts. It's in the beta thing. I have no idea, but we'll talk about that after. So, are you aligned that this is an S?
Yeah, I definitely give it an S, guys. I think that if you haven't farmed it, you made a mistake. If you want to go out there right now, do some Stargate transactions, maybe vote on a protocol or two, and you could see a nice, $1,000, $2,000 airdrop in your wallet.
Big time. So, and by the way, I'll just say one thing. Haitian Buffet, I did know that DFK has LayerZero contracts because I think everyone has told me about this so many times. I think the problem is I haven't seen it counted wherever I've looked, and that's probably where the gap is for me. Kristian, do you have and so I think this in ZKsync, everyone always wants to know when the airdrop and the snapshot is, right? I think we think this is going to be by end of Q2 2024, right? I feel like I saw this somewhere by some part of their team that they were going to wrap it up, right?
In December of 2023, guys, LayerZero's Twitter, you can go back and check. It posted a message on there saying LayerZero protocol has always had a token in mind, and by the first half of 2024, it will be released. It will be called the Zero token.
Okay, perfect. No, very very good to know. All right, so one thing I will say for everyone here, so we're gonna take a quick break. So in that time period, and when I say quick break, what I want you guys to do, if you haven't already, I put Kristian's channel link in the description. Go there, click on it, make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right, go and do that right now. So we'll give you like 30 seconds to do it, and then we're gonna keep going up. So, and I'm gonna refresh this to make sure. I want to see this go. Actually, I don't know if we'll get all 100 to do it, but we'll see. Kristian, you can let me know if the numbers jumped up. Okay.
Thanks, Brown Jen. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's always great collaborating with Brown Jen, especially. So make sure that you guys. He's giving a ton of alpha to you. He's giving a ton of value to you. This is all free value. Subscribe to his private Patreon. Make sure that you're out there giving this guy some love. Give him a super chat every once in a while. I was going to tell you too, Brown Jen. I've also become an advisor for the Donate 3 program, which allows people to send tips to content creators online. Crypto. So I'll get you involved with that one too if you don't have a link already, so that people can send you crypto directly to your wallet inside of YouTube. So it's super cool.
Sweet. No, that's cool. I remember seeing somebody post about it for like some sort of DFK player was talking about it too, right? Is it their project or something else?
No, it's their project. Two Noobs is a really cool community member down in Thailand, making a really awesome project that I think will benefit not only the content creators, but also the people that send donations are going to get an airdrop. There's a donate token that's coming out, and you can get into the Watch to Earn program, where just by watching great content, you can earn yourself airdrops as well. So I'm excited about it.
Perfect.
And big thanks to Starforge. Thanks for subbing. Appreciate that. We're all in crypto right now, trying to find the best projects we can. And I love everybody's comments in the chat. Keep them up. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible. What's the next project you got, Brown Jen?
All right, let's do it. So Starknet. So maybe I'll let you sort of take the wheel on this one.
I want to hear your rant again. I mean, that was pretty awesome, but Starknet had all the promise, you guys, in the world, and they just blew it. They just absolutely, they could have done something that was much more fair to everybody that went out there, tried out the project over the last year, 2 years, and they didn't do the right thing. They should have given everybody, at least some of the tokens, and they decided that they were going to create criteria that they felt was in their best interest. But realistically, when you've got projects, you've got one chance. Give people some tokens, right? Just go out there, and if you've tried their protocol one time, if you bridge tokens over there, give them some. You don't have to give them a lot, but give them a couple hundred, if not a couple thousand tokens, and make people happy. I don't think Starknet did that, and they lost a lot of credibility with a lot of great people in the crypto space. I mean, what are your thoughts, Brown Jen?
I've done 3 rant videos, and all 3 rant videos that I've made on crypto projects were all around very, very similar things, right? So I think you captured it very well. And the fact that you said this too, because I remember you were like very big on Starknet. And I actually got into it as part of your recommendation. I think, I am not unhappy that I didn't receive an allocation because I stopped doing it. I didn't put the effort in. I did it for 2 months, didn't do everything that's required. Where I get upset is when I see what happened to other people who farmed it for 2 years, who dealt with, apparently from what I heard, half the time you had to pray your transaction went through and it would take forever and then it would drop. And these people did everything they needed to, but they didn't have an arbitrary criteria of having a certain amount of ETH on their wallet. And the weird part was you could have had the ETH in your account, but have it staked somewhere. But if you didn't have it as liquid, you got disqualified. And it was the stupidity there. For me, I remember seeing the memes there. Like, I don't know if you saw the guy, the knight with the armor, and it was like 0.005 ETH, and it was like a little thing like in his eye. It was like, this is the best. It was like those memes were like I was dying. Don't get me wrong, but I think that at the end of the day, like, I thought they would do something about it. They came on, they went on Bankless, right? And they started. I kind of got upset with Bankless a bit as well for like, they weren't unhappy. They were like, oh yeah, just log into your favorite country through VPN and collect your airdrop. But the guy came on or whatever and was like, hey, like, we're gonna like fix this. We're gonna do some something to fix it. Didn't do anything. In fact, they're having a second airdrop and all that looks like is another farming operation. But the reality was, like, I think you said it very well. You got one chance to make a good impression. What they did was not good for the community. In fact, other projects came on and said, hey, like Scroll came up with like, hey, community's number one. Like, they were getting clowned on. They were getting absolutely clowned on by other protocols. And, that's never a good spot to be. And it was already hard enough. You had to use a separate wallet to get into this chain. And for what? I remember, like, for me, I literally just took everything I had off there. Like I said, like, I had nothing against what they did to me because I didn't hit my 3 months. I had 2 months. I had every other criteria. Great. I didn't qualify. That was on me. I didn't do the work. But the people who did the work, that you disqualified them on some BS. And not just that, there was somebody that they brought up in the Bankless episode. And by the way, shout out to Bankless. Kristian sort of got me on to watching that, which is why I watched that video with Pac-Man this morning, right? The same one around Blast. The fact that after like all of what happened, there was a dev who was working on Ethereum who predated this, and they had selected a time period that disqualified him. And it just made no sense. All the criteria was so arbitrary. And the fact that they were not willing to do anything about it, to not make any consideration, just said, hey, we're going to do better. And like, it was just a PR statement and nothing else. For me, I wrote it off. Never going to want to do, hey, thank you for showing me your true colors. I want nothing to do with you and your team.
Right.
So based on all that, where do you rate them?
Well, I wanted to just let you know too that Bankless, the Bankless guys are investors or in Starknet, so I don't think they can really have anything bad to say. But you guys know there's going to be thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of L2s out there, and you've only got one chance. I mean, it doesn't matter how great the technology is, doesn't matter what's going on. BrownJet and I will talk about some of the amazing L2s that are out there right now, but Starknet had one chance and they blew it. I mean, even if you got the airdrop, you probably weren't happy and you ended up selling it. I mean, the token's done pretty decently, but other than that, I think that they're an F in my points. I agree 100% with Space Vibes.
Yeah, same. I completely agree as well. It's and by the way, yes, guys, please hit the like button. Yes, please. That will really help. And yes, it is clunky, but you know what? We overlook those kind of things because when we're testing sort of their ecosystem, it's one thing. It does suck because I do like I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, so I love the name Stark, but that's what it is. All right, yeah. So. Maybe, damn, I wish I knew these images would turn out this way. So this is Eclipse. Kristian, you seem a lot more passionate about this. I just read up on it a tiny bit to kind of refresh my memory, but maybe you can talk a bit about it.
Oh, guys, you're going to love this narrative. I mean, this will probably launch in the summer, and they'll probably have their token drop sometime towards the fall, right in the middle of the bull market. You've got this Lana virtual machine, and everything's is basically rolling up onto Celestia. You've got all of the amazing narratives around this. This is going to be one of those blockchains that even if it's clunky, like BrownJet was saying, even if it's not the best, it's got the right right things going for it. So I've gone out to there. I've actually deployed smart contracts onto their test net. I'm in their Discord. I'm just hanging out right now. There's not a whole lot for you to do around it, but I just feel like you guys could start looking at this project now, get on their whitelist, try out their test net, go do the things that you need to, because this Eclipse token is going to be, it's going to blow away the other ones we talked about. It's going to blow away the blasts and the modes, and the Metises and the Lineas. It has just so many great things going on top of, just like that S tier Celestia we talked about earlier. Eclipse is using Celestia, and it's got so many other things going for it. So I'm big on this one, Brown Jen. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Solana. So sort of for me, like anything that makes it even easier to access and sort of combines all this. So like the Solana virtual machine, I don't really like know the tech specifically, but like I saw what happened with EVM. So, super like super bullish on sort of the potential there for me. So given all that, where would you put this?
I think when this token launches in the middle of the bull run, it's going to be insane, guys. I really think this is going to be an S tier, just for the simple fact that it'll probably launch towards the fall. And at that point, we should probably be in just one of those parabolic markets. As you guys know already, I'm incredibly bullish. We've got the halving coming up. We've got so many things going. I think Brown Jen and I are both super psyched for the end of this year when we start to see prices just go parabolic again. And I think that Eclipse will launch right at the right time with the right narrative.
Okay, I don't have any argument against it. So for me, I would have initially said like between S and A. So I think a lot more around that. It has to do with where I think the Solana narrative is, right? I think most people would say, and I saw something come up from CoinGecko actually. It was probably the most user adopted blockchain so far in the last like few months. There were some, I think Ethereum was number 2. But Solana was like first by like a massive margin. It was like 50 something percent, 55 or 56% from CoinGecko. So
right.
Very interesting. I think that's good to know. All right, Scroll. So Scroll, another Ethereum L2. I feel like we're saying that a ton. For me on Scroll, I really haven't found anything that was like very unique or proprietary. For me, it just felt like it was supposed to be a cheaper than Ethereum solution. I didn't think there was that much around it beyond the fact that, hey, I'm going to farm this for an airdrop. So, that's pretty much where I stood. Did you have any sort of thoughts on Scroll?
Scroll to me is just one of those nondescript layer 2s that everybody was talking about because it's got a ton of VC backing. They have hundreds of millions of dollars that were given to them. There's nothing special about their blockchain. I've done all the tasks to go out there. I've, bridged money over. I've used Sync Swap. I've done all the things that you need to do in order to hopefully qualify for their airdrop, which could be a nice one. It could be, a couple $1,000s. I haven't done a ton of activity on their chain. I don't find anything unique just like you do, but I do think that though they will launch at a pretty high valuation, and since it is kind of flying under the radar, it might end up getting people a little bit more, token wise than we would otherwise in some of these big names. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I completely agree. I think just the fact that they're an Ethereum L2, I think they pretty much start off typically as a B, unless you have something like weird happen, like in terms of Chroma. I think like just because of sort of VC backing, like what you said, and sort of the valuations that they come with, until we like, they're like I forget what they were like. Is it like weed stocks back like 8 years ago, or sort of the .com boom, where like you literally everyone was like it was just, you just stick with that and everyone will invest in you. And then eventually what'll happen is you're going to see one thing screw up big time. And then at that point, it's sort of like, oh, just because it's an ETH L2 doesn't mean anything. But like, I feel like me and you can make an ETH L2 tomorrow if we wanted to. I don't know. I don't know if it's that easy, but it seems like it.
I think it's a great idea. I think we take the Eclipse path, right? We use a Solana virtual machine. We roll up to Celestia. We've got our ETH L2. We're going to use RWAs like Blast and Mode. Oh my God, we can have our L2 up. Next week we'll have a token drop, guys. You should jump on board. But yeah, I think Scroll is going to be one of those, probably those B tokens, the B round here. I think that you're exactly right. It probably falls into that layer 2 narrative it's getting pretty beefy right now. Look, we've got Blast, we've got Mode, we've got Metis and Scroll. All these L2s are fitting right into that B bucket.
Yeah, you know what? I got some good news. While you were talking about Eclipse, I was actually redoing the tier list on the back, so now we got it working properly. We can just close
All
this
right.
one out, and now it shows it up properly for those who are like, what's going on? I'm going to zoom in, but I think it looks a lot better. It's still not perfect, but at least we can see a lot of the things here. There was some questions here. So Jonathan was wondering, can we still do Eclipse or is it too late? Do you have any comments on that?
Jonathan, yeah, we haven't even started yet. They've had just a couple of little things that we could do in their Discord. One of them was to try out their test net and deploy some contracts. I know if you're not a developer, it's not probably up your alley, but you can go out there. You can start getting some, some of those things that you do when you're looking for airdrop farming. You go out there and you start finding out what the meta is, right? What do these guys want you to test? What is it that they want you to do? You go out there, test net, get some test net tokens. At least get your wallet. Get your wallet a couple transactions on test net. You don't know what there's going to qualify you for, and testnet's free, right? So why not go out there and get your OXs into their testnet, see if you can start doing some of the testnet transactions that are out there, some of the projects that are already deployed out there, and get some transactions going through.
Sounds good. And you know what, just given the fact that you rated this so highly and sort of it fits in sort of the narrative I believe in, I'm going to do another video sort of doing it. I wouldn't say a deeper dive into it, just because maybe there isn't that much to sort of reveal about it yet. But sort of for those of you who are watching on this channel, I will be making a video around Eclipse and covering exactly what Kristian said, so that that way if you're sort of wondering what to do, you'll have some sort of clarity as well. Okay. All right. So now let's go into the next one. So the next one is Parcl. So Parcl is basically this. It's almost like a real estate perpetual. Basically, what you do is you get to invest in real estate. You go short or long into it, and it's a very unique application because typically you go short or long on financial assets in terms of tokens on here. But I thought this was pretty neat because they do have an airdrop on Solana right now, and it has a lot to do. There's really two ways to earn this airdrop. The first way is around providing liquidity, so it gives you like 5x points for every dollar that you have per day, and the other is sort of through trading. Oh, sorry, there's three ways. The third way is so first way is liquidity, second way is trading, which is not as great because you have to use a lot of liquidity because the properties aren't very volatile. So like you invest in a place like Las Vegas or Miami or whatever, and it's very, very small volatility. So you have to put a ton of leverage and require a lot of capital to end up doing this. So some people do this. They used to have like net neutral strategies. What is very interesting is a team takes it very seriously. So they shut down anyone who was doing self-referrals. They stopped anyone who was doing net neutral trades. So you couldn't go long and short on the same in the same region, even on different accounts. They made sure people weren't doing that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's amazing. I think every Solana airdrop so far has slapped though. So for me, that is a positive. Do you have any thoughts on this or any opinions?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of different perspectives on Parcl. I'm not a big fan by any means. I just feel like, again, it's just kind of you're betting on things online. I do like some of the real world asset narratives around real estate, where you've got kind of a real estate investment trust that's out there and purchasing assets in a certain blockchain format that allows investment coming in and being able to invest on chain. But I don't know too much about Parcl to be partial one way or the other. So I'm going to leave this one up to you where you want to rank it as far as tiers go.
Okay. So for me, I would rank this as a B. It's not like, so some people have asked sort of comments around like where sort of this weighs. So things that are in A and B, S and A typically don't require you to be a whale to earn a significant amount of money. What I don't like are airdrops where like you can do a lot of work, but all the work is outshined by just some whale coming in and sort of destroying your bags. I think Parcl is good just because you can earn some, and there is it's not going to be a straight linear path. So they're finding ways to reward people that were in the protocol longer, and I think this is going to be consistent with another one we talk about in Kamino Finance. But I think there's a lot of potential. The Solana ecosystem airdrops have been great. So there's, I haven't seen one be bad yet. So for now, I leave it as a B. Could change to a C. It's between B and a C for me. All right, Kristian, how about we talk about the next one, which is Orbiter Finance?
Absolutely love Orbiter Finance. It's been one of my favorite bridges, one of the cheapest ways to get in and out of different protocols, one of the best ways to farm, especially ZKsync. So, I mean, Orbiter to me is one of those bridges that allows you instant liquidity just about anywhere. And you're going to be able to do it for probably the cheapest, at least what I've seen, probably the cheapest fees that there are out there. I don't know what your thoughts are, Brown Gent, but I've really enjoyed the Orbiter, experience and in just farming the points and things. I use Orbiter just to go from chain to chain, and it makes life a lot easier.
Yeah, so I think it's spot on. Once again, it's integrating this into like your regular activities. So I was participating in an I guess an IDO or an ICO, whatever, earlier tonight, and I had to bridge some money over to Base. So I used Orbiter to actually. So I actually put like 2 Ethereum onto ETH mainnet from like I bought it from centralized exchange, transferred that to Base. It cost me $3 in gas and like 0.00015 ETH or whatever. So it wasn't that bad. It was like it may have cost me like $10 total to bridge, which is nothing if you think about how much it usually would cost you, right, to bridge ETH and everything. So, earning the points is great. They got the NFT program, right? So you got the pilots and everything else. There is one thing I'm a little hesitant on is their Discord is so mismanaged that I wish they didn't have one. I don't know if you ever gone on their Discord, Kristian.
No, I haven't done it.
You could literally post a scam post and it'll be there the next day. No one is in, like, the only people who are active in there are people who come in for help. And then somebody will ask a question and they'll just get a response by somebody saying, oh, join this Discord where we put your ticket, whatever. And, it obviously is some sort of scam. So no one's really responding in there. And for me, I get a little kind of weird when I see like a project not managing that appropriately. So like, if you don't have the people to manage that, you don't care about it, don't even have it. Like, it's only going to cause more problems for people. You know what I mean? So where would you rank this?
I think it's going to be a great airdrop. I don't know how many people actually use it. It's one of those things, I think, again, that flies under the radar as far as bridging goes. But people that are in the know, like Brown Gent and I, we like the experience and we like the fact that it's, probably one of the least expensive bridges out there. I think I'd give it an A. I think that fits in the A tier for me.
That's fair. Yeah. I'm okay with an A for that as well. All right. The next one is going to be a fun one. Dimension. Thoughts?
You guys know how I feel about Celestia. Take Dimension and multiply that by 1,000. I mean, I'll go into it really quickly for you guys, but if you're not staking Dimension, please do yourself a favor and go out here and get some right now. And then go out to dimension.xyz and navigate to the apps, the roll apps that are getting built on Dimension. Take a look at the testnet. There's nothing deployed on their mainnet yet. There's 15,844 contracts right now that are deployed on Dimension. 1,162 roll apps are getting developed right now as we speak. Now, not every single one of those is going to have an airdrop, but a lot will. So out of those 1,100, how many do you think are going to airdrop to people? They're going to airdrop to people that are using Dimension. They're going to airdrop to people that are on Celestia. They're going to probably do a couple. One Avail's another big one as well. But Dimension is going to be one of those things where people get their first few airdrops. And Brown Jen and I have already got the NIM airdrop, and there's going to be several others that are coming up. Once that narrative gets out there, hey, stake Dimension, and you'll start earning airdrops. So many people are going to be going out there and buying it and staking it. It's just going to go up in value, and you're going to continue to get airdrops from it. What are your thoughts?
You're spot on. In fact, like, the basis of the video I made a few days ago was literally around this specific narrative, which is everything, all of the sort of roll apps that are being created here. If even like 5% of this comes to fruition, like the technology, and we've always seen the flow the same way, they will typically reward the underlying technology. So Dimension stakeholders earn, or they will stand to earn, a ton of money through this. And this is why like Dimension and Celestia like go like hand in hand for me as like my sort of top kind of, hey, if you want to do nothing this cycle but just hold something, and somebody had asked, how do I not do quests and all this stuff, right? Like, because I get it, right? It can be too much sometimes depending on your busy schedule. This and Dimension and Celestia are the tokens for you, because you can literally stake them, create a couple accounts if you want to. you know, actually, what I would love to know actually is how much dimension do you stake on your wallets, Kristian?
That's a great question. And those are the questions that I think that we all wish we knew, because if you staked one Celestia in 10,000 different wallets, you would have earned dime into all of those wallets and you would have been a multi-millionaire. So, I mean, you never know how much you need to stake or how many wallets you need to stake it in. I can tell you that I do several, and they range from 26, I think 26 was the minimum, and then mine go up to 265 or so. So I just do a lot of different ones because I don't know what they're going to do with the NIM airdrop. Like you guys know, NIM was based on how much you had in. So it's linear. So if you had 20 in your wallet, you got like 1.1 times that. So you got 22 NIM tokens. So if you had 2,000, you got 2,200 NIM tokens. So it didn't matter. But with some of these, they go on a tiered basis where if you have 5, you might get the airdrop. If you have 500, you might get the airdrop. So you never know what it's going to be. If you want to do a lot of wallets, do a lot of different values and hope that you qualify for the most of them. But what are your thoughts?
I agree. So what's ironic is when we're doing the math, one thing I realized was that they rounded up a lot in their allocations, right? Because you didn't get a fraction version. So I wonder if you could have staked 0.01 dimension across like 1,000 wallets and just got like that many NIM tokens. I have no idea, right? Because it would have been 0.0011 whatever rounded up to 1. Who knows, right? But
Yeah.
I think the part where I get confused, or not confused, but I wonder if any protocol is ever going to test the loyalty of somebody who had one Celestia token staked, got the 200 whatever it was, and use that as a baseline. You know what I mean? Because for me, the wallets where I got that, if I didn't stake all of those, that's their like true barometer, right? Because they know you potentially most people should have this in their wallet. I don't know if that's the thing. For me, I tell people like you can stake at least. I tell them to stake at least 100. I stake at least 200 on most of my wallets. So that's probably where I go. Obviously, that's a little different for me because I also was fortunate enough to receive a lot of Dimension tokens, but like I also get it, like, everyone can't put in $1,200 in each of their wallets, right? Like for me, it was like a kind of windfall on that point. So, but yeah. I'm gonna guess here that you have this ranked as an S then, right?
I do. And just to let you know too, guys, I mean, this first airdrop that we're all getting, the NIM token, it's basically saying the narrative around it is it's gaming AI. So take the two biggest narratives when it comes to Web3 and you put those into this NIM token. Now, that's not to say it's going to do well, but when you have a narrative written around it like that, I think that it'll probably do what typical airdrops do. It's going to sell off because people are going to drop some of their airdrop. And then you saw it in Celestia, you saw it in Injective. After a couple of months, if it does catch that narrative towards the end of the year, my God, gaming, Web3 gaming and AI, oh man, that's going to be a good one, Brown Jen. I mean, I can't see Dimension doing anything other than just getting a ton of airdrops for the rest of this year.
As we're talking about it, I'm like, maybe I don't have enough Dimension. Actually, I'm probably going to buy more after the stream. And for Giacomo, one thing I will say, so welcome. I know you're a sort of DFK player, but I made a video on sort of exactly this topic, and I think it's a lot to do around opportunity cost. So take a look at what you have staked. Ask yourself, like, you can vet, like, what airdrops am I getting? And it was actually for this reason that I decided, instead of just holding Atom, like I was holding like a little over 1,000 something Atom across a bunch of wallets. I'm like, I might as well just put that into Dimension. So that's the change I made that day. And to be fair, Atom and Dimension have traded the exact same across the last couple of days. So there's no real change in value beyond me losing 3% for that whole like ST Atom swap and everything. But I think long term with the airdrops, Dimension is going to outpace Atom. But then I'll be back in Atom once the bear market starts, or if I see any other signal to indicate that I should get back in. And yes, while you say the ROI for NIM was horrible, that's just one of many, right? So there are 8 confirmed airdrops that we already know about, Ragu. And like I said, not everyone is going to be a home run, but the idea here is we get base hit after base hit after base hit, and every so often you get some like real big homer, right? What are your thoughts on that, Kristian?
Yeah, with Dimension, you guys, you don't know which app that launches is going to be Airbnb or Uber. or, DoorDash. You just don't know which Web3 roll app is going to be that, incredible winner. And when it comes down to it, we want to set ourselves up to have those most plate appearances, those most potential that we possibly can. So if you have the ability to get all of these airdrops from these brand new applications as they roll out, nobody knew these back, when the dot-com bust happened, and everybody could have got into a lot of these projects that just became infant and grew up over time. You want to just set yourself up to get these airdrops, because one of them is going to be a home run, and you might not keep it. That's the other thing, is figuring out which one you're going to keep, but figure out the narratives. Just like I said, it's basically branding itself as gaming AI. So you might want to just take a second look at some of these things and say, if they've got the right narrative, if they've got the right marketing, branding around them, keep some, just like Brown Jen said earlier with crypto valleys, keep a little moon bag, sell 50% of it if you don't have an idea, and keep 50% of it locked away. But an airdrop's an airdrop. Take what you can off the table and enjoy it.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we've had some positive projects come up. Why don't we shift to a not so positive project and talk about Manta? Do you have any thoughts on Manta specifically?
Well, Manta, it was what it was. I mean, I don't have anything positive or negative to say about it. It just reminds me, that people buy TVL all the time. Manta did that really well, right? They got the project. They got you to take your ETH and send it over there, lock it up for 3 months, 4 months. I got the airdrop, which was a couple $1,000s. I got the stone into Layer Bank, so I've got, the ability to get a couple more airdrops from it. But, there's going to be projects like this that buy your money, and they don't give you what you think you deserve for it. But, that's the way it works. Is a lot of times these projects now understand, if we give you points, or what they call points, everybody gets excited, and they start aping in left and right, and doing all the tasks and doing all the marketing for them, and, getting all this build up around it. And when it comes down to it, there's not going to be many of those that are home runs. I mean, we're not going to see many of these projects that come out that are, going to be the Jitos, where you put $50 in and you end up with 15,000. Those don't happen very often, and they're usually not hyped up. So Manta was way too hyped, and it just didn't live up to the promise. I mean, what are your thoughts, Brown Jet?
I think influencers are to blame a lot for it too. I think there were some bigger influencers who, the last word in this influencer's name is Bacon, probably the biggest pusher of this, had probably the most referrals in the entire ecosystem in this, and basically created a narrative which was not true around, like, you 5x your money doing the following things. And it took like literally 2 seconds to realize what he was saying was wrong, right? Complete lie. Don't know if he was either misinformed or was doing it intentionally, no idea. Find out after as well that he was actually kind of a VC for them as well, which was very interesting, which, he never shared that until way later, right?
Right.
For me, it wasn't so much around the Manta, like the whales taking over, because, like, hey, I got lucky and I opened up some like nice stuff as well. Here's where I don't like what they did, and this is more recent news. So a couple things. Layer Bank is also basically the trash protocol that is associated with them. They're not associated, but they partnered with them for this project, right? So Manta would put out a press release. Layer Bank would run with it and say, hey, deposit your stone tokens with us, and we'll give you Manta tokens. What would happen is they never paid out. When they paid out very small amounts to people, and it was like insignificant. It didn't even apply to most people. And the people who actually like did fund them, they still say, hey, we haven't received anything from Manta. So then I asked them, why are you still pushing their new campaign when you haven't paid out people from the last one, but then you point the finger at them and say, oh, it's their fault, because they're basically advertising it, right? So that's probably number one. Number two, Manta changed the rules on their campaign. Initially, the new paradigm had, I think, 5 million Manta tokens that were supposed to go as extra rewards for people who did all this stuff within the protocol. They changed it, and that's why they call this thing Renew Paradigm. And now they're taking the rewards from this and putting it here, which is like that is so foul. That is not cool. You know, they basically were like, oh, the rewards you're supposed to get, they don't really exist. We left you with 1 million of the 5. We're taking the other 4 and putting it into this new campaign to get people to join. That's where I sort of draw the line.
Yep. That's why I love you, Brown Gent. You call them like you see them, baby. It's like, you know what? Some of these protocols are they basically lie. I mean, they basically bait and switch, and you got to be careful what you get out in there. You're going to want to hear that all of these airdrops are going to be beneficial for you. They're not. You know, we don't know which ones are going to be great and which ones aren't. Brown Gent and I both get into projects that don't end up panning out. They don't end up being all they're set out to be. And we hear the same influencers that you do. We listen to the same YouTube influencers that you do. You know, there's tons of them out there, and they'll tell you whatever it is that you want to hear for views. But basically, when it comes down to it, we're telling you where we put our money. We've got an S tier, we've got an A tier, we've got even a B tier that I think you guys will do really well on. Below that, forget about it. I mean, some of these are just they're non-starters. And I think when it comes down to Manta, yeah, I locked up, I think 6 ETH in there for, 3 months. I ended up getting my stone out about 2 weeks ago. The one nice thing I will say about Manta, they basically were proven that now that they're using Celestia as their DA, my gas fee to get it out was like 0.00004 ETH. It didn't even show up in MetaMask as a penny.
Right.
And I was like, wow, this is really proving out the theory that Celestia is going to do just wonders for everything going on data availability when it comes to ETH L2s. I mean, did you have similar experience?
Big time. And you know what's funny? I totally forgot. I think I used your referral code for Manta on the first time around, right? I think that was what it was. No, it's all good. It's whatever, right? Like I just remember, like, oh yeah, now I remember, because you're the one who you're the one who referred me into it. Like I said, I didn't think it was bad until they made the changes. They kept changing things, and it was a lack of clarity too. So Manta could have handled some things better around. I don't think anyone really knew like when the campaign was supposed to end and everything, because they were like, okay, well, we take your money to March. So I thought the boxes happened till March. I didn't think the boxes entered it like in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you have 3 months of nothing. And I think that confusion and the fact that they didn't give clarity, the fact that when you brought up in the Discord, they just made it so that no one could talk in the Discord, like not even like slow mode. Literally, they disabled talking. Just they didn't want people talking. So like, when you see that kind of stuff, you sort of have a better understanding of, hey, like who you can trust. And yes, I know how to say this sort of name again, but like the people got it in the comments over here. And like I said, some people are just sort of motivated by just monetizing their following and sort of taking advantage of people, which I think Kristian and I do not stand for stuff like that. All right, yeah. So now that we've scraped the bottom of the barrel with this one, let's go to the next protocol, Stride. What are your thoughts on Stride? I know you talked a bit about it, when we were talking with Celestia, but overall.
I absolutely love Stride. I mean, if you guys don't know, I loved Lido when it first came out, and the Lido narrative holds true with Stride. I mean, you basically got a liquid staking derivative of all IBC tokens. They're trying to be that, at least. You've got other ones that are coming in there that are going to try to take their title, but there's only going to really be one that ends up winning out. And I think Stride's going to be the Lido for IBC. They're really starting to incentivize people by locking up their TIA, locking up their dimension, Atom, anything they can possibly do to get those tokens locked up. They make a portion out of all of those staking percentages that they get. So they just print money, just like Lido is with staked ETH. That's what Stride's doing with all the staked atoms on top of IBC. I see them as being a huge winner at the end of all this. What are your thoughts, Brown Jet?
I think they found a really good way to not destroy their token value by putting like a 6-month cliff on any of the stuff that's earned, right? So like, if you had SDTL on even on day one, I remember like a few of us got a ton. I was doing a live stream actually before the snapshot happened, and we went through it here. And part of it was just dumb luck, right? Like they made a tweet on STDYDX. I made a post in the private group talking about, hey, like not really good because not the project is not good, but more around the return on investment is not that great. But then 5 seconds later, they posted about SCT. I'm like, wait a second. This is insane. It was like 50K Stride a day. And it was like, very clear, like you wanted to get in early and then sort of just watch TVL on DeFi Llama and basically understand, okay, when's my exit? So day one, I think I got like 45 or 40. The next day I doubled my my amount staked, but I got less token back, like 35 or something. And then every day after, I got like a couple, like I got like 4 or 5, and then it eventually went down to 1 or 2. At which point I stopped doing it because I thought I could do better with the liquidity. I think for everyone here, I think a lot of these protocols will offer you tons of opportunity, and you've got to basically ask yourself risk, sort of reward versus risk. What is it for you? And just remember, your money is worth so much. Your money is worth so much on chain. Do not accept the bare minimum for it. Like, I think that's super important. I think what Stride is doing is very, very cool. I love what they did with ST Atom. I don't know how they did it. I hope they do that for sort of other, the other tokens as well. Like, if you could pull your like your dimension to ST dimension, that'd be incredible. Or maybe not dimension, because I don't foresee selling it. But like, how about ST Injective or ST, like, Osmo or something? I think that could be cool. I think having liquid staking is nice. I also like the fact they have osmosis zone pool to basically make it so you can actually like swap out without waiting the 21 days. You pay a small premium fee. I think with SETO it was like less than 1%. But that's nothing when you really want the money. You want to break that piggy bank versus waiting 21 days. That can be a hassle sometimes. So for that reason, like I actually have Stride like around a B. What are your thoughts?
That's great. Yeah, I think that Stride is, as far as airdrops go, guys, I don't think Stride is the best protocol for that, but I do think it offers a ton of value. So I've got all the Celestia and Dimension that I don't have in validators is with Stride, because I'm getting that airdrop. So not only am I getting the 15 to 17% from, the typical staking rewards that you get, but I also get Stride tokens rewarded in that 6-month, airdrop that Brown Gent was alluding to. So I'm getting 17%. Then I'm also getting Stride tokens, which I think are going to go up in value. It's a win-win. I love that, but the simple fact is that Stride's not going to be a huge success when it comes to airdrop. So I would say, somewhere between A and B. I think B is fair.
Cool. Okay, the next one is Kamino Finance. Are you familiar with this one, Kristian?
I know a little bit about Kamino, but why don't you go ahead and take the ball?
Sure. So Kamino is like basically like Aave to me, right? It's sort of like the kind of liquidity hub. Like, you can sort of borrow, you can supply, and basically the idea here is you earn money when you lend it to them. You pay money, you pay APR when you borrow. You get points based on sort of both, I believe. So they did a screw up about 2 weeks ago where they announced publicly exactly how to game their airdrop. And what do you think happened? All the whales literally just came in. Everything just got filled up. And they basically, they got called out, and accordingly so they said, hey, you know what? We messed up. We're going to make things right. What they did is they made it so that points prior were worth more. They created like sort of an OG program. They added an extra 1% to the airdrop from 7% to 8%. So they did make some changes. They didn't do what Starknet did, which is like say they would change something but didn't. At the same time, I think Kamino Finance is really good in the sense, because the gas fees are so cheap, and I pair this with Jupiter. I made a video talking about how the last 2 weeks, right, we've seen a bunch of like kind of ebbs and flows in the market. Solana has hit like 170 like 2 or 3 times in that time period. Every time I hit 170, I have like 15 or 16K worth of Solana tokens supplied into Kamino on one wallet. I just borrowed like $5,000, longed Kamino. So I borrowed USDC on Kamino, used it to buy Solana on Jupiter, let it go up, sell it, get the USDC back, pay it off, walk off with my profits, farm, get tons of volume, helping with the airdrops and doing this. I think that's probably the best way to do this, is to look at this as a sort of liquidity hub. Whereas I think some people just borrow for the sake of borrowing, and I do it so like, if you're going to go log on something, you borrow the stable coin or whatever and use it to buy whatever asset you think will go up. It's better to do that on a retracement, which is what I did there. And then every time it pumps up, I sell it off, because then I can do it again if it bumps down again. So I did it 3 times. And every time I did it, I actually posted in our private groups. Like, hey guys, here's literally the plan. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. And I made a video about it too. So if those people are wondering how to do it, there's a video on it too. So, yeah. So I think it's good. I don't think it's anything special. I think the airdrop is probably going to be a B for me, but I think I still think it's good. What are your thoughts?
Awesome. Yeah, I think that with any of these lending protocols, obviously they're going to do their airdrop. I've got a little bit of money in Kamino. I did lend some ETH. I just borrowed USDC against it. Excuse me, I lent Sol, borrowed some USDC against it. And I think it's a great way to, if you want to leverage long yourself, go ahead and just loop it a couple of times. You can borrow it all the way up if you want to, but just like Brown Gent was saying, wait for a retracement. The Sol has been extremely up only over the last couple of months. And it's been an easy way to just deposit some Sol, borrow some USDC, make some risky bets, buy some meme coins if you want, and earn some points. At least you're going to get the Kamino airdrop for it. So I don't think it's going to be a huge airdrop. I think it's going to be one of those, probably a couple $100 for most people. But I do think it falls into that B category for me.
Cool. Yeah, I think this is one of those things where you have to be more active, and like I think Kamino works very well with Jupiter, as I mentioned, so you can farm it together. But this is where, like, if you're a trader and you know how to read charts, and maybe you don't even need to read charts, but you're like, hey, like if you'd buy Solana at this price, then sort of play that swing strategy, and you could do it through this by getting some extra liquidity when you need it. Okay, so the next one we'll talk about is EigenLayer. All right, so EigenLayer. Actually, Kristian, I think you'll do this way better than I would. What do you think?
I think just off of you saying EigenLayer, and probably everybody who's watching this right now knowing exactly what EigenLayer is and what their thoughts are, leads to the narrative that it's going to be incredibly insane, guys. This could be one of the very first protocols that launches in the 20, 30, 40, 50 billion dollar range. It's absolutely got all the right things going for it right now. So EigenLayer, restaking narrative, big, huge, gigantic things going. EigenDA, data availability. We're talking the same thing as Celestia, but for Ethereum. It's got everything going for. There's over $10 billion worth of locked liquidity right now in the restaking protocol earning points. I know that you've got a bunch of ETH in it. I've got about 15 ETH in there right now. I've also got it, staked first, and we'll talk about that in a second, and then restaked in EigenLayer. So I'm getting points on top of points on top of points. This is the airdrop. This is the airdrop for all of 2024, bar none, in my book. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I would completely agree. I think this outranks anything that we have in here. I think this belongs on a tier of its own. For those of you who are sort of not as familiar with EigenLayer and why it's so important, in IBC, like you're so used to like lending out your tokens, and what it does is really secure the network, right? So they don't have like EigenLayer sort of like is that sort of layer that sort of helps build that out in Ethereum, so you can support those applications. In the absence of it, you end up having a group of validators in IBC that they have to do it themselves. And when we talk about EigenLayer, this sort of will also encompass things like Etherfi, Swell, Renzo, Pendle, Zirkit, right? Every single one of these is part of this EigenLayer ecosystem, the sort of liquid restaking tokens. And at the end of the day, you are basically securing the Ethereum mainnet. Like we've already seen an airdrop that cared about this was AltLayer. They were like, if you had, I think it was 1,000 points or 900 points. If you had that, you got a significant allocation, and it scaled up. So there are ways to get more points. I think this really shows a sort of commitment to the space, not just from a monetary perspective, but I think it does a lot of wonders as well. Like I think protocols will look at this and say, okay, this is a really good way to measure if somebody's a Cybele or not. Like people who I imagine Cybele accounts will not have a lot of EigenLayer points in reality. Just because why would they? They wouldn't. You'd never create. If I'm a airdrop farmer who's creating like 20 wallets, 50 wallets, I would have 0 EigenLayer points in there because I would not be staking my ETH in that, right? Unless it was a specifically operation for that. I do think, I believe their TVL is like $12 billion right now. It's going to continue to grow. If you see the chart, it's just skyrocketed, and it's only going to get bigger as more and more people realize the potential here. And as sort of once we sort of see this bull market happen, where because we're still like kind of like in that transition stage, right? Like yes, Bitcoin's at sort of all-time highs, but like when you start seeing all these protocols launch and they need to utilize EigenLayer, that is really when they're going to start tokenizing, right? Because at the end of the day, they're not doing this altruistically. Like EigenLayer, great, yes, fantastic. But at a certain point, the people who invest in them will want to see a payday. So that's when the tokenization will happen. Well, so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're exactly right. What you said is 100%. EigenLayer is basically going to be the narrative for as soon as the token launches until the end of this year and probably the beginning of next year. Everybody will take their tokens, they will put them in a liquid staking derivative, whichever one their choice is, and then they will stake them in EigenLayer into another protocol. So they'll earn yield on top of yield. And EigenLayer will be that same thing. Whereas if you're restaking, you'll probably earn airdrops from other applications that are using EigenDA. So when you're talking about Celestia as a great way to earn airdrops, you're going to be talking about EigenLayers. Eigenstakers is another great way to earn, airdrops as well. So it's going to be the gift that keeps on giving. I put it right up there, right next to Celestia and Dimension. It's going to be that perfect narrative. You don't have to do much, guys. Just stake your ETH and then restake it into EigenLayer, and you'll be a happy person towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I completely agree with that assessment. It's also funny, like, so I've been trying to learn a bit about the different types of tokens within like something like Pendle, right? So you have like the yield token, you have like the liquidity farm or liquidity pool token, and then you have like the principal token. And like it's crazy to see one extreme where you're willing to give up your ETH in full to max leverage your EigenLayer points and your points on whatever protocol it comes from, right? And the other part, you're willing to give up your points in exchange for like 55% APY, so you get ETH instead. So there's a sort of like market dynamic of trying to understand how these things are priced, and it changes so rapidly that people are actually trading these derivatives as well. So like once again, with all of these things, there's a ton of risk involved, so you have to really understand what you're doing. And if you don't, just go for the middle option and do LP, just because like, it has like, I think it's like 85 or 90% principal and like 10% YT or something like that. But yeah, crazy stuff. I think it's really cool. For those who are asking about like TGE, nothing's confirmed yet. The idea here is once there's sufficient reason to tokenize, they will do it, because they're looking to get enough sort of liquidity, trying to get VCs to sort of have a high valuation here, and that's when you sort of release your token, and you get that. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but if we have a rough idea on the eigenpoint ratio, I don't think we have one. I think Whales Market is probably the best proxy so far, but I don't think it's accurate. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's derivative markets out there that'll let you sell your points, and they do fluctuate. So I don't know how accurate they are. If you want to get liquidity for your points, you definitely can do that. I don't really trade at all when it comes to this thing. I just want to stake so guys, for what I do is I took my ETH and I put it into Swell, and then I took my Swell ETH and I restaked it into EigenLayer, and I've left it there for the last 4 months, and I'm going to continue to leave it there until there's an Eigen token. It was just my way of not having to worry about it at all and not have to chase every shiny object that's out there. I'm just keep earning points. I keep earning all of the rewards. And guess what? ETH is almost tripled in that time. So, it's a nice way to also to keep yourself away from all the shiny objects and put it in some place that's going to be, safer. Yeah, ETH probably isn't going to go up 10x or 100x, but at the same time, it continues to grow in value as I continue to earn points, and it's only going to get better over time. So I love EigenLayer. It's perfect.
Yeah. It's so funny you mentioned that. I was trying to get some, so because that ETH, because EigenLayer is on ETH mainnet, right? I was trying to get it into Zirkit, so I hit the withdraw button. Then I was like, why am I withdrawing it from EigenLayer? Because like I can't deposit it again, right? Because deposits are paused. I remember waiting until whatever time in February to do it. So I literally was all right, cool. I'm just gonna like buy some ETH on the centralized exchange and send it over and do it, right? Or what ended up happening was I tried to cancel the withdrawal and you can't. So for those of you who like are like making fast decisions, if once you click the button to withdraw from EigenLayer, you are unable to cancel. You have to wait 7 days where it doesn't add anything, and you're unable to deposit directly again, and you'll have to go to one of these third party whatever. So just be very cognizant of that. I think like, I don't know, Kristian, if you think this is going to happen, but I think EigenLayer will also look to see, hey, like as part of their airdrop, they may say, hey, like did anybody actually stake with me directly? Because there's a ton of reasons to go and not stake with them. and there were rewards, but obviously like loyalty probably means a lot to them because they would rather you stake directly with them versus going through an intermediary. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. There is going to be, there's going to be tiers and there's going to be things that people look at. I just think you shouldn't convolute it, guys. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's always smart contract risk on all of these protocols. If you're staking it in Swell or, any Renzo or any of the other, restaking derivatives that are out there, even Lido, you've got smart contract risk. And then you've got EigenLayer 2, which is, another smart contract. So there's always a chance that any of these could get hacked. It would be a catastrophe, but, you want to keep it as easy as possible and be able to track it as easily as possible too. And Brown Gent basically told you right there. I mean, you've got to be careful because when you withdraw something as well, it's going to restart the clock for you. Those points that have accumulated over time are not going to be there anymore. And you just don't mess it up. I mean, you get one chance to come along and get these ginormous airdrops. You might as well take advantage of this one.
You don't lose your points for withdrawing, do you?
Well, you just don't accumulate them, right? They don't compound.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. I was like, oh God, that'd be brutal. I was gonna like die.
Tell them quick. Yeah.
It's like, I'll be right back. No. So I think that's a very good point, and I think so there is the whole smart contract risk. Have you considered? So how you mentioned you did only Swell. Have you considered having it diversified and have it in EtherFi, having it in like sort of Renzo to sort of make sure like, hey, like if one provider goes down, like, Swell is about to launch their L2 as well. And in that, they're going to actually, it was so weird. They were like, yeah, stake your EtherFi ETH with us. And when I first saw that tonight, I was like, what? And I'm like, oh, it's because their L2 is about ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's definitely, you can diversify. Like you can not keep all your eggs in one basket, or you can put all your eggs in one basket and watch that basket extremely carefully. And that's the one I'd rather do, because last run, Brown Gent and I think we're both in the same type of, scenarios where we looked at a lot of different projects and we saw a lot of different opportunities and we got involved in a lot of different things. But if you just concentrate on the 3 to 5 really amazing projects that are going to be absolutely mind changing, they're going to be life changing, and you want to focus on those and say, to me, you see those S tiers up there, guys, those right there, those are the game changers. Those are the ones that are going to absolutely make people's lives so much better. And they're going to be those narratives that are written in this whole bull run. So take advantage of them. We're laying them out there for you right now.
Yeah, big time. No, I think that's very, very important. All right. The next one, let's talk about Tensor. So Tensor is like an NFT marketplace on Solana, and it's considered to be like probably the biggest airdrop that's coming, given like what we saw with Blur, with sort of OpenSea. Like I think there's a perception that this might be the biggest airdrop. It'll kind of put everything else to shame. I think that a lot of people have not put in the work around this. Like there are ways to sort of farm this. I've seen things around like long and short locks where you provide liquidity and sort of you do this like whole like bidding thing. I'll be honest, I haven't really gotten into it. This is probably the one that I'm like kind of feeling a bit of FOMO, feeling a bit like, oh, is it too late to do? Like, because they did announce their token, they did announce intention and everything last week, and I was like, oh, like literally as I was about to do it, it's on my to-do list, and it, I was already on the fence, and I'm kind of like still a bit hesitant. What are your thoughts on Tensor?
To tell you the truth, I don't know anything about Tensor other than, the couple of small tidbits that I've seen here or there. I've never used it. I farmed Blur. I was a big proponent of Blur. I felt like Blur was going to actually collapse the NFT market just because it provided liquidity for people who really wanted to get out of certain projects, and they did. We saw the price of NFTs just plummet because of the fact that now you could go out there and you could basically sell off a bunch of them all at the same time, because there was different ways that you could you could farm the floors on different projects. With Tensor, I don't know. I mean, it might have an amazing airdrop. It could be great for people that are using the protocol. I just don't know enough about it to even rank it. So if you want to give it your ranking, I'm happy with that.
So there's a couple points that like for me it's like if we're starting today, my ranking is much more different. I also think there's a big like first mover advantage for a lot of people. So like Rabito points out correctly, there's a Tensorian NFT that you can purchase, and like like that helps you like move up big time in this airdrop farm. Also, I find that because it's on the Solana ecosystem, a lot of the blue chips are so expensive. They're so expensive. It's like it becomes so cost prohibitive that you almost have to be a whale to really make it. The only way outside of being a whale to make it is by using these short and long liquidity locks on NFTs, which is very complicated. And I don't think it's something that the average airdrop farmer would do. So for that reason, I probably put this as a C. That's probably where I put it. I think, like let's say they haven't announced their token. Let's say you know, it's sort of like we're kind of in the dark and it just launched like the protocol. Then I would say, you know what, I'd probably put this as an S just because of the opportunity and sort of NFT protocol. Like for example, When Exchange just went live 2 days ago. It's another it's not captured here tonight, but it's another NFT protocol where they are going to drive a ton of volume on Blast. They sold out on their stake passes, which were a free mint, sold out or sorry, minted out the 4,000 like so fast. Their whitelist 2 rounds. They had like a public mint that lasted like 5 seconds or 10 seconds or something. 13,000 people were trying to like get the whitelist spots for it. And the NFT, like this NFT is like almost like tripled in value, or sorry, I don't know, say tripled in value. It was selling for $80 the day after, and now it's like almost $300, right? Because you get 6.6% of the fees, right? 6.6% of the fees on this protocol go to these NFT holders. Only 4,000 of them. Only 4,000 of this
Nice.
thing. So because you're early in this, I think for me that's a big opportunity. Whereas here, like you're late, you got to spend a ton of money. Is it really worth it? I don't know. And that's why I haven't prioritized it.
And don't get us wrong, Botanical Warehouse. I think that there's plenty of opportunities out there. Tensor might be the best NFT marketplace. You might get a huge airdrop, but you've probably had to be farming it for a while, and you probably had to invest a lot going back and forth in order to create volume and do things. So that one might be great. And Orbiter Finance might not be that great. We don't know. We're just giving you our best opinions based on the fact that we use these protocols. And Brown Gent knows much more about Tensor than I do. I just think that a lot of times, you might not get as much as you think from them. And if you are a whale and you've got the money to invest, Tensor might be a perfect. You might get a ton. You might get a huge airdrop from it.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's not that I don't think that Tensor is not going to print, because I do think that, but part of it is also just the feasibility of the average person being able to do it, right? Like how much liquidity is it going to cost you to sort of end up doing it? And well said, brother. Oh yeah, most of my friends down 20,000 on Tensor. Yeah, so like this is the thing, right? Like it's going to be expensive, and like it will print for sure. It's just looking at the average person. Would this be the one we suggested them? Probably not. And Stelos, you're asking, it's LayerZero. I don't know if the logo, you can't see it.
Yeah.
It's LayerZero.
LayerZero, guys. That's the one up there. I mean, those S tiers, I think that when it comes down to it, Tensor might be a huge winner for people if they got in, they spent a bunch of money. But if you can, why not take that money and invest it in an ETH and go restake it in EigenLayer, or buy a couple $100 and put it into TIA and just validate it in TIA for a couple of months. Dimension too. I mean, we just talked about those 1,100 projects launching on Dimension. So there's some great ones out there, and Tensor might be a really good airdrop for some people, but we just feel like there's plenty of other options that are going to be better for you over time.
Exactly. And you know what? Like I think a lot of these things, if you were a whale, I think it's like, for example, Kamino and Parcl. For them, it may be an S because you got a ton of liquidity. You can put in like $5 million and make sure you get the sort of top spot in here, right? But these ones are like sort of the great equalizer, because even if you like for EigenLayer, if you, for example, put in 0.1 ETH in EtherFi, you will get in 30 days up to level 8 in their stake rank program, and you will have the max multiplier, and you should be able to get a sufficient enough both EtherFi points to sort of get you this massive airdrop there, while also earning toward the EigenLayer airdrop. So it's gonna be big. Cool. So By the way, and I don't know, buddy. The reason that you've gotten such a low amount is their website is having a ton of issues right now. So a lot of pages aren't loading. Okay, so next one, ZKsync. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is right next to EigenLayer as the biggest, baddest boy, the name, the one that raised $500 million. The smartest kids on the block are all playing on ZKsync right now. And I can tell you, Brown Gent, I mean, it's got all the right narratives going for it. It's going to launch tokens soon. You know, I think that we're both under the understanding that we'll probably see some type of announcement here, probably April, May timeframe. They might have already done their snapshot, so it might be a little late. But I've been in this project since last year when it first came on to testnet in April, and just been out there farming it ever since. I mean, every month I go out and I do some tasks. I buy some things, I sell some things, and I just think that the hyper chains, basically the layer 3s, the ones that are built on top of ZKsync are going to make or break this one. And having the ZK technology is great, like everybody's trying to do right now, from Polygon to, Scroll to everything else that's out there. But having these hyperchains that you can launch your own token almost instantaneously, use it as gas, and then be able to roll up onto ZKsync, and then ZKsync will take all of those roll ups and they'll put them into a ZK proof and then roll that up onto Ethereum. You're talking fractions of pennies for all these transactions. That's where it makes the difference. So if that narrative catches on, yeah, ZKsync is SSS tier. If it doesn't, it might be a B or a C, but I just think it's got everything running for it right now. And it's going to be a multi-billion, if not $10 billion to $20 billion market cap. So those are my thoughts. What about you?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think ZKsync is it's probably like the most well-known airdrop, just because sort of everyone has been talking about it forever. It feels like every other day somebody has a rumor about new airdrop criteria, or, oh my god, the snapshot was taken, or I found the GitHub that tells you that this founder said this, blah blah blah, whatever. Honestly, it's hard to tell if the snapshot was taken. There are some factors. I think there's a lot of things going on there. They do have some very unique aspects, like the paymaster, which I've never seen anywhere else, where you can use like non-native gas token to pay for the transaction fees or the gas fees on certain protocols like SyncSwap or Gold3 or whatever. So it is really cool. I don't know the longevity of ZKsync, but I do think that from an airdrop perspective, it will pay out massively if you've done the work. Now, when that work is measured, no idea. My recommendation to everyone, though, is just given what happened with Starknet, please have some ETH on ZKsync and on ETH mainnet, just in case. It would suck not to. And also have your Gitcoin passport, because one of the best ways is, if you join their guilds on their on the guild's website, it tells you that there are different roles. One requires, I think it was like 15 points on Gitcoin passport. The next was 20 points. And then the next role after that was a Liberta omnibus. So, these things should flag to you. The team cares about these things. So make sure you have some of this stuff done if you haven't already. And I think that when the airdrop does come, you will be pleasantly surprised. So given all that, where do you have it sitting, Kristian?
To me, it's kind of a hit or miss. So if you guys have been out there and you've been doing the task kind of like Arbitrum was, 12 to 18 months, you had to farm it before the actual token came out. Everybody said, there's never going to be an Arbitrum token. There's never going to be an Arbitrum. Then all of a sudden Arbitrum dropped their token, and it was like, all right, if you've been doing all this for the last 12 months, you get X. And I remember that X number was huge, right? I got some of my wallets got like 7,000, 7,200 ARB tokens, and other ones that I'd just been trying to do little things here and there got 0. So It really depended on how long you were there and how much liquidity you did and whatever it was you were doing. If you're doing the right task, ZKsync's going to be an S. You're going to get $10,000 probably to $20,000 of an airdrop. If you're out there just putting $100 in there and you're doing little tasks here and there, you might get a couple $100 back. You might get $1,000 back, but it's probably going to fall into that A tier. What do you think?
No, so sorry, did you say A or S?
I said, I think for you, it's probably going to be an S tier because we've been out there farming it all along. We've been talking about it. We've been doing the tasks, but I'm just letting people know that if you're trying to get into it and you just started, don't worry about ZKsync. There's other ones out there you can make more money from.
So then I guess I have a question on that. So I agree with you from that perspective, but based on that, should LayerZero also be an A then versus an S, just given like how close
That's
we are to the snapshot? Just,
that's a good thing. I would definitely, since we're making this video right now, you could put LayerZero down a notch, because yeah, people that go in today and are just starting to, they've just seen the video, they probably aren't going to get too much when it comes to zero tokens. But ZKsync tokens too are going to be the same, guys. I do think though. So for me personally, I don't know if this is the same for you, Brown Jen. I would much rather hold ZKsync tokens and LayerZero tokens like forever than I would for even some of those S tier tokens. So I think ZKsync, if it's done correctly, it's going to be the #1 L2. There's going to be nothing that comes close to it. And for LayerZero, it's going to be the de facto standard for every single bridge. It's not that it's going to be in one bridge. It's going to be for every bridge. Everything's going to use LayerZero technology, and they're all going to make a little piece of it. So those are kind of my two favorite tokens to hold. I don't know how EigenLayer is going to do, or Celestia, Dimension, Eclipse over time, but I do think that ZKsync and LayerZero are going to have a ton of value, and they're going to accrue value as we go.
Right. So I'm just going to respond to a comment here, but I do agree. I think for me personally, I don't like holding any tokens, for example, that are governance based. I just don't like them in general because, I've always felt like, hey, you get these governance tokens, but like, how much does my vote really matter? And is there sort of a purpose/function to it? So for that reason, I probably wouldn't hold on to any of those tokens. I plan on dumping my wormhole. One thing I have learned is every single time airdrops happen, you have the farmers sell out their tokens so fast that it actually comes down way too low. And if you just wait like half a day to a day, you'll actually the price rebound significantly, which is a big learning that I've taken away this cycle. So
definitely. And that even happened with Manta. I mean, you're exactly right too, guys. So, I mean, if you're looking at those layer 2 solutions that we all announced up there, most of them are in that B tier. Almost all those tokens are pretty much worthless. They're all governance tokens. Your ETH, right? When it comes down to it, your ETH is the only thing that's going to accrue value over time. It's deflationary. It's great. That's why, again, going back to EigenLayer, you're restaking your ETH. You're earning yield on top of ETH, a token that's going deflationary and going up in value. So EigenLayer, man, I mean, that deserves its own tier.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, like I like the 4 projects we have up here so far, just because of, one is a lot of potential in Eclipse and sort of what's going to happen. EigenLayer sort of, we know, is sort of the backbone, and sort of Celestia Dimension is really like, IBC really like bringing this technology everywhere and sort of this adoptable technology. All right, next one is MilkyWay. Kristian, what are your thoughts on this? I know we talked about MilkTia earlier. Do you have anything specific to say, or is it more in the sort of frame that you described, Stride?
I've got MilkyWay, I've got MilkTia in all of my Cosmos wallets. So all my Kepler wallets and all my Leap wallets that I'm staking in, I've got some MilkTia tokens as well. So most of them are actually paired and put into Osmosis chain, and they're used as LP. Because you get bonus points from that. But I think MilkyWay will be good. I just don't think it's going to get that same adoption as Stride will. So, MilkyWay is set to be the liquid staking token for TIA. And it probably will capture a pretty decent amount of value. And you can't go wrong with liquid staking derivatives because, again, they're just earning yield on top of the yield. So they're getting a piece of everything that's staked with them. But with that being said, I think the narrative will come in and will go. I think Stride will rule them all like Lido does on top of ETH, and MilkyWay will just be another one of those LST tokens like Rocket Pool or any of the other ones.
Yeah. Okay. So based on that, so I agree with what you're saying. As I mentioned, same with Stride, my hesitation is around, you can't guarantee me the airdrops. So like what I gain from you incrementally here, I'm not willing to risk losing the airdrop. So like I need to make sure that I have a validated or staked amount of that token first. And then any extra that I'm holding, I'm happy to leave it here. In fact, I found some MTIA in Quasar Finance, which I had like left there a long time ago. So I was wondering why like my MilkTia allocate, like I have the dashboard. I'm like, oh, I'm the top 4,000 or whatever. I'm like, what did I do? I thought I got rid of all my MilkTia, but apparently that's what happened. So, so based on that, where would you rank it?
You know, I like MilkyWay. I like the fact that they have their point program. I like the fact that you can go out there today and buy some milk tea and actually see your points accumulate. I like the fact that they're gonna, they're gonna do an airdrop. It's already out there. It's already. I would put them in the B tier just for the simple fact, guys, that you can go out there, you can stake your TIA with milk TIA. It's completely liquid, so you can go and trade it on osmosis and get it back if you don't want it. You can earn some points right now. So I give it a B.
Okay, yeah, I'm okay with that. And the final one, and by the way, based on the reception here, Kristian, are you open to in the future doing another video where we take this, where we map these out, and maybe we can sort of put out a feeler to the community to get their ask on what protocols they want to add, see ranked, etc., and then we'll add to whatever we have here. You cool with that?
Definitely. Yeah. I love the community feedback. Make sure that you guys comment down below. What are some of the protocols that you'd like to see? Any ones that Brown, Jen, and I left out? Any things that you think are going to do better than our S tier picks? Please let us know, and we'll do follow-up videos so that you guys get some insight on what we're thinking and why we're thinking it.
Exactly. And we can do a part 2. So basically we will start with this, and I'll populate this again the same way, and then we will just sort of add to it. So we'll get a little more busy and whatever. But putting in the chat now won't help because I don't think we'll see it after. So make sure you post it in the comments below. Okay. And by the way, yeah, post in the comments below. And I want to see that YouTube icon. That way I know to add it. That means you're subscribed. Cool. So the last one is Orderly Network. Are you familiar with this one?
I am, because you know where they started?
No.
On Near.
Really?
Yeah, they got a lot of money. Yeah, they were at NearCon and they started their order book, project on Near, and then they switched over. And aren't they now an IBC chain?
So Orderly is not an IBC chain yet. So they basically are like the order book, right? So they're using Perpetual, so LogX, Wolf uses them. So like basically the way they function is they charge a fee when you sort of deposit and sort of withdraw like liquidity, and they allow you to use their order book on a bunch of different L2s. So once again, like for the thing I'm always looking for when I'm trying to invest is, okay, when I say invest, like when I'm trying to airdrop farm, is this going to be something that's going to be worth my while? Because the technology is going to be important, right? And Orderly actually put out an announcement on this like campaign today, where number one, they were rewarding everyone who did the Galaxy campaigns. And ironically, now that you mentioned it, they mentioned Near, and I was like, I had no idea what the hell they were talking about with Near and whatever from before. They're rewarding people who are part of that too. But chronically underfarmed, right? One of the things I always look at is in these campaigns, how many people are doing them, how far are they doing them to, right? So like, some of these campaigns were based on trading volume. And obviously, like the higher trading volume you go, the less people sort of do it and claim the OAT and everything. I claimed a ton of OATs around this. So it'll be very interesting. There was a ton that people could have done for a very low cost, right? People ended up opening up these trading things with like high leverage and closing it right away. You get double the volume, times the leverage points and everything. So, it wasn't the hardest thing to do. You just burned a bit of money trying to get these. But I do think it's really cool, and I think it is chronically underfarmed, and for that reason, I have it somewhere between an A and B. If I had to, right now, given sort of, if it was yesterday, I'd say B because they didn't have their full campaign kind of mapped out. But with their new campaign mapped out, like after the fact, I put it as an A. What are your thoughts?
Definitely. I mean, they're smart guys doing smart things. I love the order book status. I love the fact that, they're filling a niche that many different players in the space need. There's going to be a lot of these infrastructure plays that I think are going to be big. They do have a ton of money. I know they raised a lot from VCs. That's always a good thing if you're looking for potential airdrops, potential projects to get behind. I think those top ones that we have all listed on there, the A and B tier, most of them raised multi-$100 million from venture capitalists. So you've got a lot of money that's hoping, that's expecting, that's going to be the marketing driver behind them. So yeah, I would give Orderly. I mean, from the very first time I heard them speak on stage, I think it was at ETH Denver, I was like, yeah, these guys know what they're doing. And I like the fact that they've got smart founders, and you put a bunch of smart guys in a room, they're going to create a product that's going to do well. Do you happen to know if they're having an airdrop or when that airdrop might be?
Yeah, the airdrops supposed to happen I think in like 10 or 12 weeks. So the campaign got announced today. So like I went through it. I'm trying to remember if there's anything specific that I remember that mattered, but I think it was just like the road to something was the name of it. I'll send you the link after. I was gonna do a video on it specifically for the sort of for the viewers of the channel, but obviously now I'm not gonna do it. It's like 1:30 or almost here or 1:13. But probably tomorrow when I do an update video, I'm probably gonna capture some of the highlights there. But I do think, you know, obviously the first question you get asked whenever something comes out, oh, I didn't do it. Is it too late? Well, it depends. If,
Right.
if the campaigns are still open, they're looking at Zeely as well. I don't like Zeely as a campaign infrastructure because the Zeely like rewards are always based on leaderboard ranking, right? So like top 50 or top 100, it's kind of stupid. Whereas Galaxy just gives you the OATs and everything. So if those are open, I would recommend anyone, if you find a orderly network Galaxy that you can do, just do it. Like there's no harm. Most of them, like the ones that will require you to do on-chain actions, will provide you with OATs, and all of that will, result in you getting something. But there's going to be a 10-week campaign starting now. I think it's almost a bit in the essence of what happened with Manta. So before Manta did their new paradigm, right? They had this like under the sea or whatever, and they had a bunch of Galaxy quests, and the people who did those Galaxy quests ended up starting with like 10 or 15 loot boxes before. I think it'll be a lot like that for this one. So I don't know. For Integrity, I'm assuming this is a company, Integrity Payment Solutions. Yes, EtherFi is doing a second airdrop. Their airdrop, I believe this time is 5% of the supply. Last time it was 6% in season 1. They only have 11% for airdrop out of full tokens, which means there's no airdrops happening after this. And 0.1 ETH is the minimum that you have. 0.1 ETH is the minimum you have to have to rank up level. It checks out on every level up. So every 100 hours, you move from one level to the next. So level 1 to level 2, level 2, level 3, etc. All the way to level 8. So there's 7 level ups, which takes you about 29 days. The reason I know this, I did the math earlier. I did a video on this like literally 3 hours ago. I'm not psychotic enough to remember all these details normally, but what I would say is if you've already got 0.1 ETH there, that's the number one thing you need to do to level up. And then you can add your sizing whenever you want to, right? The sizing near the end is going to be more important. But if you want to earn more EigenLayer points, well, then get it in sooner. So, I'd say you've got to ask yourself what the opportunity cost is and what else you would do with it. All right, Kristian. So it's like 1:16. Do you have any final things you want to say? Like, does this look pretty accurate as to, where you thought these would end up? Is there anything you're surprised about?
Yeah, no, it came out pretty good. I mean, I was expecting a couple other S tiers to get up there, but I think that we did a good job. We didn't overhype too much. I think that we got what we needed to. I did want to let you guys know, if you made it all the way through here, make sure that you smash the like button on this one, and make sure that you've subscribed to Brown Jet. I'm also too going to do a video on Hercules decks. I'll probably have it coming out tomorrow, a real short one. I want to keep it at like under 5 minutes, let you know how to go out there, let you know how to qualify for their token generation event, which is coming up in about a week or so. It only takes $500 in LP in their alpha pools, and their alpha pools are getting like 200% right now. I don't belong to Hercules. I'm not a spokesperson for them by any means. I just think that Metis has got some good programs that are coming out. Hercules is a derivative of Camelot decks. If you guys know Camelot on Arbitrum, Hercules is basically an exact replica of that. So gives you a chance to get in early, hopefully make a little bit of money. I'm here to make sure that hopefully you guys have a little bit better day today than you did yesterday. I hope you got some alpha from this, Brown Gent. I always appreciate coming on your channel, chatting with you about all the really cool projects in the Web3 environment right now. Thanks so much for having me on, and I look forward to our next time.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate having you come on all the time. I mean, you're always like, I feel like you're always at conferences and stuff, right? I think you went to Denver. Where did you just get back from, actually?
Yeah, I just got back from GDC. It's the Gaming Developers Conference up in San Francisco, where there was a ton of Web3 projects out there. I was at the Avalanche gaming booth for most of the time. Avalanche has a ton of huge gaming projects coming out, Shrapnel, Bloodline. Arbitrum was also there with a big presence. There was a ton of other Web3 projects, Decentraland, all kinds of stuff. I am a big fan of everything decentralized. I think you should custody your own assets, get your money out of traditional finance, get it into your own wallet where you control it. Nobody else can take it away from you, and make sure that you're paying attention to the people that really care. Brown Gent's one of those people. Belong to his Patreon. Make sure that you give him a big thumbs up. And if you ever see me out at a conference or anything like that, come up and say hi. It always makes us happy when we see people in real life that we don't otherwise know online. Big shout out to everybody in the chat too tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. It was been a great night. A long time. I didn't think it was going to be this long, but I'm glad we got through all that content. Anyway, I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is a really good video. I hope it does provide some insight, guys. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Kristian's channel. The links in the descriptions if you haven't done it already. One thing I think is sort of really cool here is one of the things I've sort of constantly preached with you guys is really around prioritization. I hope seeing this has tried to create some differences or differentials around like where things land. Now, obviously, like this is not going to be the case for every single person. Every single person, like each one of you may be at a different stage of this, right? Some of you may have more in Aptos, or maybe you've been staking on EigenLayer way earlier than anyone else, and because of it, like EigenLayer will be top anyways. But how about Cosmos? Like, let's say you have like 1 million Cosmos, and because of it, any airdrop would be such a significant pull. Maybe this might be higher for you. Same thing with Tensor, right? Let's say you have a Tensorian NFT. Maybe you have all these things that are going for you. Then at the end of day, what will happen is these things may move up and down. But just on average, you got to hear our thoughts around why we mapped things out the way we did, really with a perspective of looking at it from the average person who's looking at a map of, okay, I'm just joining the airdrop space. What should I be focused on? What can I do? How can I make it? Right? And I know a lot of people coming in the chat were asking that question. So Jupiter, you got till next January to get your volume. Aptos, you still got, I think you got to like tonight. I think you have like a few hours left on that Aptos Galaxy Quest. I know it's supposed to end sometime on the 26th morning if it hasn't done it already. Linea, you still got maybe another week left on their Linea Park campaign. So if you haven't done that already, you got no excuse, right? LayerZero, ZKsync, maybe it might be too late. Who knows? Maybe it's not. You can still do it. EigenLayer has tons of opportunity. You can get through it. Celestia Dimension, you can still stake those tokens. If you are going to do it soon so you qualify for the max airdrops, especially Dimension with the 7 more airdrops that are confirmed and many, many more. But yeah, like I said, there's tons more protocols. We can't cover everything. I'm sure there's thousands of things that all of you want us to cover. If you want us to do that kind of stuff, please post in the comments below. One of the things you guys need to remember is these are all the things we're doing on top of just, investing in cryptocurrency, right? Cryptocurrency is really like the underpinning of what we do, right? Like we're in here holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever tokens that you have, whether it's with Bonk, whatever, right? Like I see all these weird token names coming up. But at the end of the day, the real way to grow your account is through airdrops and making the right moves and prioritizing. So continue to watch this channel, continue to sort of, subscribe to Kristian's channel, sort of watch and listen to sort of that opportunity with Hercules and everything. I think the more you do the work now, especially while we have this opportunity, the more money you can make. And that way, the next cycle, you have way more opportunities to unlock. Because remember, some of you, I see in the chat all the time, hey, I don't have a big enough account to do this. Well, all of us started off that way. And you've got to parlay from cycle to cycle to cycle. You need to make sure you do not destroy your account. So don't take too high risky plays. Don't just also take, myself and Kristian's word as gospel. Do your own research as well. But you have a framework to understand sort of the logic behind it. So I think that's very important. I think I see one last question here that I want to answer. Integrity's asking, can I ask one more question? I bridge one ETH to Renzo, but I can't figure out to get it to show to my wallet. Well, the first thing I would say is Renzo is not a chain. So if you have your ETH there, I'm going to assume you had swapped it from ETH to Easy ETH in the Renzo protocol. So you'll have to go and look for that. Probably one of the easiest ways to do it is go to actually, yeah, you could probably go to Pendle, or you can probably go check the bank. Go to thebank.com, type in your wallet address, and it'll let you know what chain it's on. That's your best way of doing it, right?
The easiest way to do that, Integrity Payment Solutions, is just go to Etherscan and put in your wallet address, and it'll show you all the tokens in your wallet, and you'll have a token address, a contract address for that actual Renzo ETH, and then you can just copy that into MetaMask and import it into your custom tokens. Type in that contract address, or just copy and paste that contract address, and it should show up right there in your MetaMask. It's a little bit convoluted and it's kind of a pain in the butt, but once you do it once or twice, you'll get used to it. It is kind of scary though when you go and buy a token or you do something new on a different chain and you don't see that actual token in your wallet. So make sure that you're going out there and doing the right thing, and it's there. You just got to search in the right spot. Go to Etherscan and check it out. You'll see all the current tokens that are in your wallet.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Thanks, Kristian. All right. Well, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this new style of content. I really always enjoy having Kristian on the channel. So Kristian, thank you so much. We're going to have you on again soon. But for those of you, it's 1:30 here in Toronto. So, thank you so much for watching. Share the video, like the video, subscribe to this channel as well as subscribing to Kristian's channel. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.